where secrets lie. There's a cure they try to hide. Dr. Kimchi, he's the guy with a mission and a spicy side.
With a spiritual guy like you should know, having a fancy studio like that and getting all these compliments from people, that's just going to boost up your ego, mate. It's going to...
Oh, it's just... That my viewers don't want.
Got to keep it humble.
Can't be boosted up anymore. Okay, we can talk about this because...
Look how humble I am. Look at this. Absolute white, not showing off, no malas, no nothing. Just this. This is how you know I'm the most spiritual person in the room, because I'm not even trying to be anything.
By the way, I love your humor, fucking excellent. And I was just listening to or watching the Obey spoof on one of your channels. You know, spot on, all that stuff. I've listened to about, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them, you know, whilst I was waiting to do this, and watched the whole 2 hour. You're recording this now, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're rolling.
Can you send me that file once it's recorded?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I can only record 40 minutes because I'm not paying for this, because I don't use this. I use the Google Meet, which is free, and personally, I think it's better. Zoom has let me down too many times in the past, lost too many good conversations. But yeah, there's an enormous amount to speak about. Alex, do you want me to call you Alex or Sasha?
Sasha's good. Sasha's good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so is Sasha your spiritual name?
No. I'm actually of a Russian descent. So if your name is Alexander in Russian, everybody calls you Sasha. It's like Dick for Richard in English.
Right. That's why I met lots of people called Sasha when I was living in Bulgaria.
Exactly right.
Okay, cool. All right. Well,
so this is exciting.
Yeah, I think so. It's great. Look, the reason why I like it is because you are a spiritual individual. You've had your enlightenment. We can talk about that if you want. It is an enlightenment. People don't want to hear it, but it is. You've traveled the path, and you know you have traveled quite a few places on the globe. I'm assuming because you're Canadian, and then you're living in Athens now, or you're actually working in Athens. You traveled to Britain. You've probably been to Russia. I don't know. But you know, instantly you're the sort of person that can communicate, and I can communicate, and you can see, and you can hear, and you can feel. A real human being. They're fucking hard to come by. You know that, and that's my frustration. That's our frustration. You know, our species is fucking hard to come by.
Wow, there's a lot in that you've said. I talk about this is one of the interesting little things I go into sometimes is how many actual souls are really here on this journey, because I've had interactions with beings where I go, I don't think God's in that one. There's nothing here. It's empty. It's empty.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is?
You know,
it's 144,000.
Maybe.
You know what 144,000 stands for? 9. You know what 9 stands for? Consciousness. And so when it says there's only going to be 144 souls risen in the Bible, it means only those who are conscious are going to be risen. And I swear to God, just like you've mentioned, I've met exceedingly few in this life. And so I can think it's very, very feasibly possible, like the great Dolores Cannon often says, there's very few of us and the rest are backdrop people. The automaton, the drones, the muggles, they don't want to hear that. I upset people all the fucking time, but I don't care. And the people that really appreciate what I say, they don't care either, you know?
Yeah, it's a big one, because I'm also aware that so many souls that are here, they're just newer souls, right? They're newer. They haven't, they haven't even gotten to that point to ask the question, what am I doing here? Or
Yeah.
what am I? What is the nature of existence? What is God?
Yeah.
They're just not there yet. Now, that doesn't mean, but if they do have a soul, they are no more or less God than all of us, because there's only that one self, and it's all beings everywhere. So there's nothing, and it's only the ego that judges and says, oh, this person needs to wake up now, or da, 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 da. Everyone's on their own unique path. We can't predict that, but it's so fascinating that there may actually be genuine holograms with absolutely no soul walking around. And that's a bit of a mind fuck if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a part of, it's not life, it's not conscious, it's something else. And that's fascinating.
Yes. Well, have you taken entheogens?
I've had some experiences.
Okay, so psilocybin, for me, when I take that to reasonably high doses, it makes me very empathic, and I will feel at 100 yards whether there is a soul in that being or not, and invariably there isn't. And so that's very, very curious. Why does some ingestion of some alien substance give you an instant discernment as to who is soulful or who isn't? Very, very strange. And when you've taken enough of that, then the residue stays with you, the knowledge stays with you, the ability to be able to perceive these things stay with you, and you can see just by talking to a person, just by looking in their eyes within 20 seconds, you know. And if you want to engage in that because you have an unearthed experience, and that's what all these extras are about, extras just to fill in the gaps in your movie. Well, okay. If you're looking for enlightened beings, then you're going to travel a long way to find them.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a real blessing, even if you find one. Even just finding a being that's genuinely on the path, that is a true seeker, is a rare occurrence. There's not
Yeah,
there's not that many.
the difficulty is now, Alex, with our two dispositions, is that you're coming from more of a love and light and more of a compassionate perspective, and I'm not. And
Well, I like where this is going. That's funny.
And so, when you put your video up on your channel, people are going to be like, "Who is this guy? Who does he think he is?" And this sort of thing. Doubtless, when I put our video up on my channel, then maybe lots of my viewers are going to be saying, "Why can't you be more like Alex?" The softer, more congenial sort of guy that we can listen to a whole lot
I,
easier.
I don't
Because
know.
I'm too shy.
I'm a shit disturber too. That's what's fascinating about this character that I'm pretending to be, and I'm sure your viewers won't think it's weird me talking this way, because I'm fully aware that the I that I am is not this.
Yeah,
You can't put a label on the self. It's just all it is.
yeah,
But I'm playing a character, and my character's interesting because I know that the real identity is the all that is, all life everywhere, all at once, forever is the I am that is actually all beings everywhere. And yet, this particular incarnation likes to push buttons and troll and be funny and take the piss,
yeah,
and he likes to poke other beings into awakening. And I
yeah,
recognize that's the ego, because the self doesn't need to convince anyone, doesn't need to do any. The self is absolute pure love presence forever. Nothing needs to happen. Everything is always perfect.
yeah,
So it's very interesting watching that within me. There is that genuine desire of love coming through, that is the self, that wants people to remember that they are love, that they are God, that they are divine, because that's the ultimate liberation. So of course that part is absolutely pure and wonderful. And then there's the ego that still judges. Oh, look at this idiot wearing a mask. Oh, look at this person lining up to get their fourth booster shot. What this person is so brainwashed, and still judges and still wants to change and still wants to wake people up, not from that pure place of love. And I'm aware of that in myself. I'm still a human being.
yeah,
Anyone who claims to be fully enlightened, run
yeah.
away.
Well,
I can tell
But
you that one.
what you've just said is
But yeah,
exactly how I am, and it's exactly the perspective. I've been doing what I'm doing now for past 15 years, and I've had, about a dozen YouTube channels, and most have been taken down by the powers that be,
yeah,
and some I've just thrown the towel in because I just got frustrated. The ego got frustrated, and I'm always telling my viewers that this is my job. I'm doing this. Cosmos has chosen me to do it. Again, there's so many things that you can say that people are going to have a problem with. Oh, so you're the chosen one. Well, I have been chosen. That's what I know intuitively. That's why I'm doing what I do. And for the better part, I don't particularly like it because they like it. You know, you see, when I first watched you, Alex, I'm like, yeah, this guy, he's had his awakening, but he's still got this humanism, human, all too human, as Nietzsche would say. And we can't avoid that. We have to have that. You see, if we get rid of the ego entirely, then we'll be a blubbering mess because it's the ego which is the operating system for this human avatar experience. And
yeah,
so you're doing it kind of like reluctantly, but you're having fun. It's kind of like, look, we've been sent to planet Earth to wake up souls. It's kind of like, oh, Dad, do I have to go back there again? It's yes, son. We've got to raise these souls. Okay, then. So for the 50,000th time, we're back here doing it, and we know that.
yeah.
And we're having a cosmic giggle. It's kind of like, well, fuck. If I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be having fun. And I'm going to be fucking around, and I'm going to be jousting, and I'm going to be toying with them, this, that, and the other. But it's coming from the heart. It's coming from spirit, and it's coming from a good place. And this is why the vast majority of my viewers tolerate me because they know that. Even though I'm a belligerent motherfucker, much of the time, they can see that actually it is coming from a good place. And it's kind of like, damn, I suppose that's what we've got to suffer to get through to the gems, to stick around. Because those who don't stick around, they're not ready. You have to be ready for this shit, don't you?
Oh boy, yeah. That's been one of my biggest frustrations as a human. Um, because I've got a really, really big heart and I know why I came to the planet. And it really is to aid in the liberation of all beings from suffering. Like nothing short of that. That's why I'm here, that all beings may remember the truth that they and the Creator are the one thing. Nothing short of that. But that can be very frustrating because you can't force it on anyone. It doesn't matter like how much I can see if this person just got this thing or read this book and if they just got into the spiritual journey, it would help them so much, because I see how much suffering is happening because simply of lack of self-knowledge. It's the only thing that is leading to all this suffering. If anybody remembers the truth of their nature, it's gone. It drops off because God cannot suffer. There
Yeah.
is no suffering for the eternal oneself that is all. It's impossible. Love cannot suffer, and we are that love. But as a human, I want to remind people, I want to shake people sometimes. Literally, I have taken megaphones and driven down the street and screamed at people. But until a soul of its own accord in its evolution has that flowering and decides, okay, there must be more to life, until that moment, there is nothing any other soul can do to help them. Nothing. In fact, it's a disservice even to try because you're interfering in their evolution. And it's a gradual process. I'm deepening into myself to absolutely trust every soul's evolution and just be available to help any souls that want my help. But if you haven't asked, very
Yeah.
naughty for me even to try.
Yeah, and a very delicate realm is what you spent a lot of time in doing your comedy during the COVID period. Because if you start joking about that stuff, which is supposed to be deadly serious, all of a sudden you're offending people. And in your audience, there's gonna be, 50% that's taken that which nobody in their right mind should have ever have taken, and they're going to be thinking, I don't know what they're going to be thinking. They're going to be thinking terrible things, deep regret or resentment for you, or fuck you, who are you? I trust the government, and all these different sorts of things. So just to broach that is a very, very delicate realm because it's something that doesn't really need to be said because those that knew intuitively never went near that shit. Those that didn't, who were fast asleep, of course they're going to do it. And so, there's no point crying over spilt milk. But, it may be like some sort of a little bit of a vindictive streak. I've got it, and that's why I joust. I go, all you that have took that scrud shit, you're dying, right? It's a terrible thing to say. It's a terrible thing. But I'm such a believer in that cosmic spirit is sent me on this journey. I'm like, who am I? Who's my ego to keep judging what is just coming out my mouth? Because there is a fattest of me which goes, you can't say that or don't say that. But I just keep saying things. So I have to go with it. I have to trust whatever it is that's enabling me to do it, whatever it is that's enabled me to write my book, whatever it is that's enabled me what's coerced me into doing this for the past 15 years. I've given up on the self-judgment of it anymore. And I make some atrocious videos that even my ego, finds an abomination. And yeah, I go, you fucking made the video. Spirit made the video. Put the video up. Just put the video up. It's for a bigger cause. Don't be reflecting on how people are going to be thinking about you. You don't matter. It's not about you. It's about the message. And I'm like, okay, something in that message must work then. And so, and you know what? It fucking does because they get the most views, they get the most interaction. And I'm like, people love to suffer. People love to suffer.
Yeah, the ego is all about it. You bring up a really interesting point. This is something that's been part of my in a way, my struggle, my evolution. There's that part of my ego that likes being right and likes pointing out how fucking retarded people are who took the vaccine and who wear the mask and who are so fucking brave. Of course, I just want to. It's insane. It's absolutely insane how disconnected you have to be from truth, from love, from all that is to fucking inject yourself with are you by companies that literally have had lawsuits and paid billions in fines for killing people. Wait, let me finish.
Yeah,
so
no, I know.
So I've got that.
We don't spoil the video. So don't spoil the video. There are still motherfuckers that will take this down if they're not in agreement with it. I've just had a strike on one video. So we didn't have to.
Oh, I see. You want me to play it safe because you're going to put it on YouTube. I'm putting it up in places they can't take it down.
Right.
But So there's that part of me that as a comedian that wants to really be vicious and viciously funny with some of my jokes, and I have been, but as I've been evolving, I'm like, okay, can I come from love and still be funny and still say what I want to say, but in a more compassionate way where those that really need to hear it, the vaccinated and the brainwashed can actually hear a little hint of something and go, oh wow, maybe I'll look at that, rather than me just triggering the shit out of them and having them think this guy's a fucking asshole. And it is a higher form of comedy that I'm aspiring to, and I'm not saying I'm even there yet, but I'm evolving into a comedian that can still take the piss, but in a more loving way. And I believe I will reach more people in that way. So that's something that I'm evolving into currently.
But at the end of the day, if people have took it, there's no going back. And so just a reminder is tearing them apart, and a reminder will kill them. Because if that reminder goes round and round and round in their mind, it will have the placebo effect, and that in itself will destroy their health. So
it's possible. It depends. I mean, I feel like this is like, this whole thing, as evil and terrible as it was, it is an opportunity for every soul to awaken. And having experienced a lot of profound awakenings as to what love is and what God is, and it's beyond words, but I really I know on a deep level, if a soul truly awakens and says, oh my, I really made a mistake, I was brainwashed, I have no idea, I'm so sorry, and I wish I never did that, please God help me, please God help me heal this. And if a soul truly comes from that place, they can be redeemed and they can heal. And I don't care what the technology is or whatever, nothing is more powerful than the infinite oneself. Nothing is more powerful than the love that is the creator. So every soul is being given the opportunity to awaken and to heal. And I believe souls, even that took it, if they truly want to be on the planet in this ascension we're going into, they can be, but they have to choose to want it. They have to wake up and really repent. And I don't mean in a Christian, like, just correct the error. Repent just means, if you take you're an archer, you missed the shot, correct the error that you've done. And I think every soul is being given this opportunity. So everybody, just everybody, you can live, you can heal, you can be on the planet if you want to. But those that are still asleep and refuse to see and refuse to awaken, they're leaving the planet in massive numbers right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think basically it boils down to the self-realization that there's nothing physical here in the first place. Because if you have a great attachment to the physical fiction, then you are going to die. And when we look at what things are said in the Bible, if you eat from that fruit, then you will surely die, because you will have the knowledge between right and wrong. But you see, it gives you the knowledge of the right and wrong. It takes you out of your ignorance. And if you have the knowledge of right, or you have an understanding of self, and you can you've got a high state of consciousness. This is what I think that whole metaphor in the Bible is. When Adam and Eve ate from the fruit, they opened their consciousness. Instead of being like primates, which were going to be like pigs in shit forever under God's jurisdiction and governance, they ate from the fruit, and they became awoken. Now, when you wake up and you look around and you start to play the game, when it's kind of like, well, there's things that are going to kill you, and there's things that are going to help you. And it depends how much belief you put into any of these. But at the end of the day, you see, if you have, I don't know how many steps higher in consciousness, then you know that that's only playing the game of the human avatar. That's just a program which isn't actually real, because you are eternal spirit, you're God consciousness playing at being a human being, because consciousness is bored, just being everything. And so it fragments itself into dominions, and then it has all these individuated experiences. When we buy into that, we buy into the reality of living and dying. You see, so there's levels, isn't there? There's so many philosophical, spiritual levels to anything we're ever going to discuss. And what I always try to do when I'm discussing these things with people is to set the foundation. And we can move floors. We can move floors in this building as long as we know what floor we're speaking from. Because if you start to ask me or say to me, "Oh, what do you feel about this awakening?" then I'm going to say, well, obviously you're coming from the human avatar perspective, and there's things to be said for that. But if you ask me, do I think this awakening is a load of bollocks? I'll say, of course it is, because we're all awake. We're all fundamentally God consciousness. We're only kidding ourselves that we're asleep and we don't know anything, and we're terrified of everything and all these different sorts of things. Yeah.
Yep.
I have to pause somewhere in my discourse to give other people the opportunity, but I could in actual fact keep going like David Icke. I could have the whole of the video just who's talking, but conversations about engaging with other people. I've wrote a few notes down, watching you, listening to what you say, and you speak a lot about healing. Um, uh, it's semantic. It's kind of like a new age semantic. It appeals to new age sort of people. The exact same thing you could say therapy. You could don the hat of a therapist, and you can say, "Oh, my videos are all about therapy. They're all about self-help," and then you get a crowd. But as soon as you start saying healing, this is about healing, then don't you think you're inviting the new age, dreamy, love and light gaslighters that just want to shun reality at any cost, and they want to feel healed. I mean, what is this healing? You know, you see, if a therapist said to you, look, your problem, Alex, is that you think too much, and because you're thinking all these circuitous thoughts, then it's exhausting your mind, and that's being passed on to your body, and then you get depressed and lethargic and all this. Stop thinking. Or just try to distract yourself. Well, is that healing, or is that therapy, or is that just fucking sound advice?
I think for the vast majority of people, it would be good advice because most people definitely are overthinking. I
Yeah.
was a deep overthinker until I started having major spiritual awakenings. And then as you realize more and more that you're not the mind or the body and you are the self, the thinking fucks off. It's quite a relief actually, almost as much as a relief as when the sex drive dropped off. Woo, man, I
Yeah.
was a horny boy, let me tell you, and less so now. Um, but no, healing is I mean, I don't look at it new age or not new age. I look at it as human beings are traumatized from birth by the matrix very consciously. It is
Yeah.
all across the board. You come out of that vagina, what do? They slice the umbilical cord immediately. Do you know how long the umbilical cord takes to drop off naturally? 4 days, sir. 4 days.
Right. So the body is still
And
living.
yeah, can you imagine the spiritual connection, the nutrition that's in the, I mean, they take those things and they sell them. We don't have to go down that rabbit hole. They're worth a lot of money. So they're chop that, they put drops in the eyes, they inject you with what, all kinds of stuff. It is to traumatize you the moment you enter this realm. Absolutely, fully, consciously, they know what they're doing. And then it begins the brainwashing, the programming, go to school, sit down and learn and shut up and don't think for yourself. All the way to university, pay your taxes, get a house, pay your rent, shut the fuck up and follow orders, all the way till you leave the planet. It's an amazing scam. And it's trauma from day one. So unless you were born to enlightened parents, and there's not too many self-realized parents out there, I hate to break it to anyone, you're traumatized. Every single person on this planet is traumatized, even if it was just the birth trauma and you had the best parents ever. Everybody. So it is every single human on this planet that is on a healing journey. The question is, are they aware of it, and are they healing actively? Or are they just kind of like coping with it, with their drugs or their alcohol or their pornography or a million other ways to cope, or just not being present? Every single person needs to be on the healing journey. And I would argue that they are, that just some aren't even aware of it.
Yeah. And when Jesus said, I quote the Bible a great deal, even though I don't believe in the reality of any of that stuff per se. There may have been a guy called Jesus. I mean, perfectly feasible, but there's lots of people around that were considering themselves being messiahs and reputed to be messiahs. But for the psychology, that's what I'm always attaching myself to. And when he says that, truly I say unto you that unless you become like little children, you will never get into the kingdom of God. Well, when we look at children, and I've traveled to many third world countries where there is no such thing as this indoctrination. They don't have any education, and when they don't have an education, you see such a bright light in the poorest of people, and you go, "That's a fucking human being." And they're happy and they're big beaming smiles and they're healthy as fuck, even though they're living on rice and fucking plantain or whatever, and so you have to ask yourself, what the fuck is going on in the Western world when, the children, as soon as they get past about 4 or 5, you start to see the dullness and the fear in their eyes because they've been told, don't do this and don't do that and stay away from this and that will hurt you and this will hurt you. Oh my God, classic conditioning, and it's terrorism. It's absolute terrorism from the highest source. But when cultures haven't had that terrorism, then they're free, and they are just wild animals, basically, conscious wild animals, and they're thriving. And you can see the Christos in every single one of them. And so, that's one of the greatest obstacles that we in the West have to overcome. And, we have always been told that the savages out there in the jungles and in the deserts, they don't know nothing and they're foolish human beings. Completely the opposite.
Totally. No, I'm 100% agree with you. It's something I like to say that may trigger some people, which is a good reason to say it.
Yeah.
If Jesus was in a room and in that room was a woman with a newborn baby, the baby is the most enlightened being in the room, not
Hmm.
Jesus. You come out as God, pure, absolute love, oneness consciousness. That's what those babies are. And that's why they try and destroy them and traumatize them as soon as they enter this world. It's a direct attack on God, actually, and that's what's happening here. And the forces of darkness, they reveal themselves in everything, especially at the hospital and what happens when kids come into this world. I've seen some babies who haven't had any of the injectables. It's
Yeah.
free. They look at you. I'm telling you, they look at you. It's just they have other kids they're all over the place. They're crying. Kids that are pure, they look right into your soul. It's like looking at God right in the face. I've had several experiences with babies where I look at them and they look right at me, and they're like, "Hi, yes, I'm God. Hi, nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Yeah, hi." And we're
Yeah.
just staring at each other. It's freaky. I've been freaked out by babies that are able to have that level of presence because they haven't been fucked with.
Yes. So very often when I'm walking down the roads and I'm on my way to my gym and things like that, I come upon women pushing very small babies. And I don't ever look at the adults. There's no point in looking at them. They won't look at you. They're dull as fuck in any case. I look into the soul of the baby, and
Yeah.
the baby's eyes hone in on your eyes. They don't look at anything else. They follow your eyes. Every step that you take, getting closer and closer and closer. And you go, what on earth is going on there? It's that soul, one soul to another, that they've
Hmm.
got instantly. They're not interested in anything else. They're interested in your soul, your spirit, because they are connected to that's what they recognize. And it's a beautiful, incredible thing that is killed in the human beings. Now, something very
100%.
significant to notice is that this human consciousness doesn't come about until the child is about 18 months old. So they don't have a level of sentience until that period. So for that 18 months, they are actually the essence of pure God. And this is, you have become like babies. That's the thing because you've got an open mind. It's absorbent and it's completely. Unpolluted, and there is no holds barred. It's just information, and they're sucking information like a sponge until they get told the wrong information. Still, they get to absorb all the negative information, and then that kills the positive information. But we ask the question, realistically, well, how can we avoid that in this dimension? Because it is a polarity of a dimension. There are the goods and the bads and the evils and everything. And so if we have children and we don't educate them into the root of evil, then we can't have an evil society. So we have to have a pure society where there are no people that we need to be afraid of. And we gently, awaken our children to the pitfalls of, falling out of trees and off cliffs and all those sort of things. But, we avoid telling them in, a fatalistic type of terrorizing way. We just, give it them in another way, which doesn't close them down like, touching
Yeah.
a clam, it closes down. We've got to keep them open and realized. And
Yeah.
so, there's a massive amount that, we could teach our children. We could go on a very, very different trajectory. And I've heard you speak about this. I think it was in the 2 hour thing with your friends sitting on the couch. And you're imagining, what if everyone was awoken? What if everyone was enlightened? What would the world be like? Oh,
I'd like to find out.
a vastly different place.
Vastly different place. Yeah. I think that's what we're heading into. I think, we see the awakening happening of like, the corruption and, on the 3D level, but there's also the spiritual awakening, more and more people having these experiences, remembering our oneness. And that's not going to stop. That's going to accelerate. It's like popcorn, right? One being attains enlightenment. Bow. That affects every single person around them that they love. Vibrationally, like we're literally one consciousness. So that's why, in a way, it has been said by many masters, the greatest deed we can do for all of humanity is to raise our own consciousness. That's it. Like you are doing it by working on yourself. You're raising the collective consciousness of the human soul. And so that brings a lot of comfort when you don't have to go out there and change anybody or wake anybody up. Wake yourself up, raise your own conscience. Remember, you, like, one of the most profound things Yeshua said, I might be slightly paraphrasing, but it would say, the only difference between you and I is that I know there is no difference between I and the Father.
Yeah.
So he's saying the only thing different is, I know I and the Father are one. You do not. That's the only difference, and yet there is only God. That is the deepest, that is the real teaching of the Master, and that's what they have to hide, because they can't have people know that. You are the creator. Are you fucking kidding me? If people find out that the people you're being ordered to massacre are God and you are God, and it's just aspects of God killing other aspects of God, we're going to have a problem here, So so that's the biggest cover up, if you ask me, of history, that our true nature and what we are. That's the big secret that they don't want people to figure out.
Yeah. Again, there's so many tiers of this. I once had a DMT experience, one of about 200. And on this particular occasion, it told me that the world, cosmos, was absolutely perfect. And I came out of that, and I'm very befuddled why this extreme intelligence would tell me that. I couldn't dismiss it. I couldn't say, "Oh, fuck off! It's just open your eyes." No, I had to listen, because
Well,
when
you
you have
fuck.
the experience, you know that is the cosmos talking to you. And when the cosmos says it's perfect, it's very much like God speaking to Job. Answer to Job. When God says to Job, "Who the fuck are you?" Is it, were you there when, I created the universe, and when I created this and I created that, and all, where the fuck were you, Job? You were nowhere. And so that's the position I'm coming from. And it took me about 2 weeks, heavily contemplating on this, until I finally realized that the only way that this world could be perfect is if it wasn't actually as real as we thought it was, and that we don't actually suffer, and we don't actually die, and nobody murders and rapes anybody. And then ask the question, well, in what world could that be a reality? Well, in a dream world, in a fiction world, in the world of Maya, where nothing is what you see it or it appears to be. And then I go, oh, well, where have I experienced that before? Well, in my own dream world. Because when I'm unconscious at night and I'm dreaming, well, there's all different sorts of shit going on. And then when I wake up, none of it mattered. Isn't that the thing? When we wake up, we realize none of it matters. And that's where I am now. And that's what I convey to my viewers. I'm saying it really doesn't matter. You know, and this decries everything, absolutely everything. The love and the light and the alleviation of suffering and all this sort of, it decries everything ultimately, because how can it matter when it's only God having a dream?
So here's where maybe we'll get into a bit of a disagreement. I hope so. It would be fun. So, although yes, it's very accurate. It is absolutely a dream. It is God dreaming. However, there is a significance to it, because God wants to learn about God. God is one of the most profound awakenings I've had. And again, words don't do it justice, but I'll try. All of the universe is. God is love. First of all, that's the pre-frame. This was its own awakening.
Can we just qualify what God is? I mean, my God is like Spinoza's God. My God is the cosmos. My God is consciousness. They're inseparable. Consciousness, God, same thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Because if
absolutely.
we start talking about God and people envision a guy in the clouds and all this sort of stuff,
No,
creator
that
of the
doesn't.
world.
I don't believe in any of that rubbish, and I don't think any of your listeners do either, frankly, or very few. So you hear a lot of God is love, blah blah blah. One of the awakenings was that love itself is the creator of all, and there's a difference. Not God is love. That would just mean, it's an attribute of God is love. No. Love, that unconditional love that we all experience. Think like a mother loving her child, or you loving your mother, or you loving your, real absolute unconditional love. That is the creator of all that is. So love is literally God. And another one of the awakenings was that on all levels of existence, all aspects of love are helping other aspects that are not quite as self realized raise themselves up in their understanding. So, so the enlightened master is the guy who's almost an enlightened master who's helping the new student, and then the new student is helping the brand new student, and the brand new student is helping someone who doesn't, and it's all of creation is just beings that are love, remembering that they are love and helping other beings that are just below them remember. And it goes on forever and forever and forever. And because we are unique aspects of that God consciousness that is all that is, we are on our own spiritual journey of evolution. So even though ultimately, yes, it's all a dream, a comet could hit the planet tomorrow and it would change nothing about what we are, because we are every planet, every solar system, every being everywhere is the self. So ultimately, it doesn't matter at all if our planet blows up tomorrow. And yet, there is a unique journey for this soul in its evolution to higher and higher levels of self-knowledge, and how I choose to use this incarnation in my own awakening, in me being at service to others, in me loving on others, in me helping other beings raise their level of consciousness is extremely significant for my own journey and my video game, which I play because it's a joy to play it, and it's a joy for me to be at service and to help other beings attain liberation, the absolute awakening out of this dream reality. When you realize your true nature, all suffering drops. It really drops. It's shocking. It's shocking, shocking beyond imagination how in one moment it's gone. And I truly wish that for all beings. And for me, that is my joy, and it is God working through me, helping beings in that journey. So it is absolutely significant. This life, every single incarnation, is an opportunity to remember yourself as the creator. That is very significant, sir. And yet it's a dream.
Yes.
It's a paradox. It's a paradox. And there are many paradoxes in the awakening path. Many,
Well, I
many.
mean, the cosmos is a paradox. Every single facet of the cosmos is a paradox.
Yeah.
And so this is what makes it so much fun, because we can all have beliefs and we can all embroil ourselves in the position of an avatar in any particular video game. Now, as far as I can see, you've immersed yourself into a video game that you're an incarnated soul, and there is a reason, there is a purpose, but there's no validity to this at all outside of our imagination. We haven't found the book written by the cosmos and God. It's something that we imagine and we fantasize about, and we want it to be so. It sounds pretty good, and fuck it, we all have religions and beliefs, so we'll go with that. You see, and the reason why, I will, play devil's advocate to all these things, because they will all fall down. Every single one of them will implode upon itself. Now, I'm a great believer and adherent. I don't like to say belief. I don't like that concept. It's a nothing concept. But I'm an adherent to idealism, whereby idealism considers that everything is just within mind. Everything is mind. There is no physical matter. Quantum mechanics have told us that. Philosophers and very bright thinkers, for thousands of years have told us that. And so, what stage are we going to stop dismissing that? What a vast proportion of free thinking, unconditioned and non-poisoned minds, they've told us this, about the Tao Te Ching and all different sorts of things, when people have been very, very simple and have been in touch with the cosmos more than any of us could possibly imagine, because we're born into this fucking ego prison. But when you look at the world from the facet of idealism, then, well, it's just mind, it's just God, it's just a dream, no physical reality. And then when you put the pieces together, well, even our brilliant brains within this matrix or within this simulation tell us there's no physical matter. Well, what part of that don't we want to believe? But we continue to talk about atoms and molecules and viruses and diseases and all this stuff. And it's like, hang on. We've been told by the most brilliant brains on the planet, or at least some of them, that none of that exists.
But does the fact that there's no physical matter make it more or less significant, this experience that we're having?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's a very good question, because we don't need physical matter to have this experience. Just like when we dream, we don't need physical matter. And people could say, well, your brain is a physical matter. Look, consciousness doesn't derive from the brain.
Yep.
That's been proven time and time again. And so our consciousness cannot be found. In all these years of human existence, we've never even come remotely close to discerning what it is. And so, therefore, it's kind of like, well, it's an isness. It's like the water which fish swim around. They're completely unaware of it, but they cannot, if they had an ounce of intelligence, refute that it's there, holding them in position and allowing them to live. And so consciousness is the thing which creates us. And in the beginning of the Bible, Genesis, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was good, the Word was with God, and all this sort of thing. Well, what is the Word? The spoken word is vibration. What is the cosmos? Vibration. So they knew that then. And everything comes out of words, don't it? Microphone, videos, Alex, Aaron, all these things. It's only words. Take all the words away, and there's nothing left. I've stopped talking now.
I just thought we'd do a bit of eye gazing, mate. Not too flirty, maybe just slightly. So many things, man. It's such a pleasure to be able to chat. It really is. It's
Yeah,
not.
because,
It's not often you can have one of these and properly get into it. Do you know what I mean? It's a good
yeah,
one.
yeah. And you see, when I'm always crying at my viewers, they go, "Oh, stop being a whining bitch. This is YouTube." And I'm like, "You think it's YouTube, but I know it's the fucking cosmos." And so I'm not being constrained by, fucking silly programs. I'm speaking to see if there's any light beings out there. Any light beings? Right? Obviously not. Oh, for fuck's sake. This shit makes me fucking livid.
It's going to be something to do with censorship. No, a cat just pooped on the rug. What happened?
Oh, my phone's bleeping because someone's sending me a pile of fucking messages, but there's only two people who got my number. And this is why I can't stand that shit, Alex. But yeah, what was my thread?
Well, that it's just a treat. You were looking for other people you can talk to about such things, and not too
Yeah,
many you can really get into it with.
yeah, and why is that? You see, when people like you and I, we engage in this, well, it's the nectar of life, isn't it? It seems that this is what we came here for. Yes, this is
Yeah.
what we fucking came here for. It's knowledge, it's wisdom. And this is why, in thousands of years ago, we had these philosophers thinking about all wonderful things. And you see, these philosophers have passed down all this stuff to us because somebody wrote it all down, and they go talk about Plato and Aristotle. But when you've read these people, when you've listened to what they've said, you go, well, they're saying no more than the average guru around the world, and they're thinking in no deeper than the average awoken, enlightened being. Why? Because we all enter into the same pool of knowledge. Once we've entered into that, we can talk forever about the stuff, about the nature of the cosmos. And we don't need to put them on a fucking pedestal. All we need to do is wake the fuck up, and then they'll just be like brothers to them. And we could all sit
It,
down and have a conversation.
exactly right. That's exactly right. It's nice to. Let me ask you a question. I have a really juicy question for you. What? Because I've noticed that very few people are real seekers and actually want to know God. Very few. And I'm curious, what do you believe was like what led you down that path? Because like I was absolutely obsessed. Like I was crazy about self-realization. I was insane. I went around all the world. Nothing else mattered to me, and I went really hardcore from my first awakening in 2009 until I got the answers through a series of more than a couple of dozen awakenings over a really intense period of like 2.5 years, 2018 to 2021. Fucking super intense. And so, what was the driver for you to actually want to awaken?
Do you want it in one sentence, or do you want it in 250,000 words?
Go on then. Let's do the one sentence and then we'll see how we go from there.
In one sentence,
Because most
because
people don't give a fuck, mate. They just want to get their knob polished and eat some food and just make lots of money
yeah,
and be comfortable. They don't give a
yeah,
shit about their true nature. And
no, they don't give a
it
shit.
boggles my mind that they don't
Yeah,
care. I truly
it,
don't understand how
no,
people
I
do
don't
not care.
understand. It's
It's
incomprehensible.
crazy to me. But I'm not like others, and I know that.
Yeah,
So
so the answer, the one line is that when we realize we are God. Now, the 250,000 word version of that comes
boom.
in the shape of that.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Very
Now
good.
these are the same book. The Spirit told me to call it Closer to God because throughout my 15 years of spiritual evolution, every step of the way I was becoming closer to God, which ultimately is myself, learning
Okay.
about myself. And so then I decided that the more appropriate term was to call it a journey to the self. And
Yep.
so that's what I've done. 250,000 words there, 650 odd pages, starting from when I had my egoic implosion, going through all of the significant things upon my journey. And so Spirit compelled me to write that, and it's been telling me that. I would need to be applying myself to it at some stage. And I used to ask, for years, when do you want me to do this shit? And then all of a sudden it just said, well, you won't know unless you try when the time is right. And I'm like, oh, it's that one. It's like what writers say, if you've just got an idea, but you can't quite, formulate it, all you need to do is turn on the computer and start typing. And then the cosmos does the rest. The cosmos will automatically write it for you. And that's what fucking happened, Alex. I stood in front of the computer for 8 months, solid 5 hours a day, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to say now. I've never written a book before. I don't know anything about this fucking shit. And then it's kind of like, we'll just start doing this, and then we'll work the fucking rest of it out. And that's what I did. That's what happened, and there it is. And it's amazingly complex with all different sorts of supernatural, spiritual encounters with God and angels and the devils and Jesus and I'm talking real fucking encounters,
Oh,
you
that
know.
sounds like my type of book.
Yeah, well,
Getting me all
out of body
excited about it.
experiences, fighting with the devil, deep meditative experiences, 300 crazy entheogenic experiences, a whole myriad of supernatural stuff. You'll love the book. You will absolutely be fascinated by, one man's journey through it. And within the book, I implant, I place excerpts from some of the world's geniuses. For instance, I'm like, when my ego imploded, it's kind of like, I've got no idea what the fuck is happening to me. But what I was compelled to do was to buy as many books as I possibly could on philosophy and human psychology and read them for 12 hours a day for 7 fucking years. And then, for 15 years later, I'm still reading every single day. I'm still watching videos and listening to debates for 12 hours a fucking day. It's endless. This is the journey I'm on, and the job that I'm doing is then to defrag all of that information and then put it into a verbalization which people, might be able to grasp. But it's immensely difficult because it's so complex. So yours, you speak about your spiritual awakening, enlightening, when all of a sudden you realize that you are, effectively God, everything is all one and all that sort of thing. And so what I'd like for you to do is when you send me the file of this video, send me all the links which are relevant to your channel, because many of my viewers will find your stuff fascinating. And in actual fact, they'll probably unsubscribe from my channel and come over to yours because they'll find you much more amiable and easy to listen, easy on the ears.
We're different. We're very similar and in our own unique flavor, which is what's so fascinating. To talk to
Yeah.
another being that's been through the, some, and it's fascinating to me also that there's so many different types of awakenings. Like there's like I don't know if two beings will never have the exact same. Do you know what I mean? Like the way it comes in through our story and how we got there, and everything. It's so divinely orchestrated, the whole thing. So you know what I mean. So no two beings who whatever you want to call them, self-realized, whatever, they're not going to have the exact same knowledge or understanding or depth or how they explain it or how they experience it. It's an infinity game. Like one of my
Mhm.
spiritual teachers says, it's an infinity game. There's no end. There's no end to our journey, to our growth, to our evolution.
Keep talking, I'm listening.
It's amazing. That's what makes the human game so fascinating, is that there is no end to our journey. And one of one amazing being, realized master, who happens to be a nuclear physicist, Mr. Kesh from the Kesh Foundation, he actually says that at some point we become a star. Our souls become a star. Like that's
Right.
actually where this is going, and then that will create other star systems and everything. It's crazy. He says that's what happens with the humans as we eventually evolve. We turn into star systems.
Well,
Very
are you
interesting
familiar
stuff.
with Rudolf Steiner?
Little bit.
Yeah, Rudolf Steiner, when he speaks about many worlds, he speaks about the origin of human souls and spirit, manifesting in planets like Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. We will spend a period of time within the energies of those energy fields, and eventually we will end up on Earth as a physical body. So we'll have an etheric body, an astral body, a spiritual body, all these different sorts of bodies. And then we'll have the earth experience whereby we have a pain body and, we have this ego. Now, uh, I heard you speaking about the ego and questioning the ego. Well, I write extensively about what is the soul, what is the spirit, what is the ego, how do they all interplay and intertwine each other, this, that, and the other. And one thing that pricked my ear when you're speaking to your friend sitting on the couch, you were alluding to, I think, that the ego is a separate entity. It's an imposter, it's a usurper. And this is what I have concluded. This is what I've been saying in my book and even in recent times in videos. I'm saying, look, people, what you don't realize is that you think that you are the ego. The ego is a program, it's an egregore. Uh, it's an accumulation of all of the thoughts that we've ever had, which has created this ego, which get more and more powerful as the program gets longer and longer and longer. Unless, of course, we have a spiritual awakening, then we start to dismantle it. We start to put it in its place, and we say to it, "Hey, ego, you're good at what you do. You're fucking good. And without you, consciousness could not have the human avatar have experiences. So you are very, very valued and needed. But because you're an egregore and because you haven't been challenged, you get larger than fucking life. And you think that you are the fucking show that's going on here. You're not the fucking show. You're just the operating system. So pull your fucking neck in, deflate your chest, and know your place. That's what we do when we become spiritually awoken. Spirit then has to say, listen, I'll take the helm from this point forward, and you can do your thing in moderation. As far as the human experience is concerned, but we're not going to have you running away, with yourself because you want to experience this and you want to experience that and all the things that you love doing as an ego. No, I'm along for the journey now, and so we're going to have moderation. And so, what can you tell us about that facet of things? And by the way, thank you for patiently listening. It really is a quality.
Yeah, I would describe it. It's just very accurate what you're saying. I've got my own flavor of, based on the experience that I've had, which has been, I've had some really fucking insane ego deaths, like full on. I've had, yeah, I don't even know which one to refer to. Um, the really, really big one was so profound. It was shocking. It was absolutely shocking. And after that experience, I can speak with some authority over the fact that that ego death that you're talking about, this mix of like, it's more than just thoughts. It's traumas and thoughts, belief systems, samskaras, so many things wrapped up in it. Survival. Am I going to be loved? Am I going to make enough money? Am I going to, am I going to get enough fears? And what, there's so much, wrapped into it.
Are you familiar with the egregores?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it becomes an egregore then, doesn't it? It becomes an actual entity.
Absolutely. It is. It's its own thing, and it's heavy. And dude, I'm telling you, something that Osho says that's very relevant here. He says you have to develop an ego and really have it and be in it so that it can be dropped. That's the beauty of the ego, to believe that we are this and we need to be more successful and have more money and get more, all these things, to one day remember we're not that at all. And in that moment, it is the most profound moment in you can have as a human being. That moment where that's not there, and there's different versions of that experience we can talk about. But when that's not there and just the true self is there, even for a split second, it's over. It's
Yeah.
over. And after that moment, it doesn't mean that, oh, you're fully enlightened now and you're perfect. Not at all. Not at all. I'm not fucking there, and I wouldn't claim to be. But even to have a second of truth, that realization, it will change everything. And I've been very blessed to have periods, even after that death, of actual days, maybe I would say even a week or 10 days, where there was no ego, there was no person, there was no thinker, there was nothing. There was just the body was doing things fully automatically. Oh, I have to pee now. Oh, peeing is happening. Oh, there's food. Oh, food is going into the no thinker at all. And it is the real self being here without that. And it is unbelievable joy, unbelievable peace, beyond anything you can read in a book, beyond anything that can be described in any language, to exist as the pure self in any form, but in the human body is profound. And when I went through this one that I'm talking about with my teacher Paul, that you're watching that episode with, it's a fucking crazy episode. When I went through the death, I mean, in that moment where I realized, where I knew, oh, I'm about to die, I was very lucky, because when it happened for me, I was actually looking at my teacher's eyes. We were having a deep, profound conversation, and it rose up in me, and I knew I'm about to die, and I spoke those words. I actually said, fully consciously, I'm about to die, speaking as the ego. And my teacher smiled and lovingly looked in my eyes and said, "That's okay." And I died. I, the separate self, went through a death. And I knew I have to trust it. So I let it go. And I went into like a holding container where I was pure consciousness. And I was like, well, I know I've already had awakenings. I know I'm going back to source. So weird. I wasn't expecting to die then, but that's okay. I'm ready to go to the light. And I was ready to go to the light because I had died. And I was just literally, and some time's going by, and I'm like, okay, any minute now, I'm ready. Let's go. Let's get the show on the road. And eventually, I wake up and I look at my teacher, and I'm in the body. And I said to him, I said, am I dead? Did I die? And he said, no, you're still here. The old you died, but you're still here. And in that moment, after that, to actually get up and look around without the presence of that ego, to just be the self, dude,
Incredible.
it's insane that that's what we are, that we are that pure self, and
Yeah.
we all believe in this heavy thing that we are, that is just a dream character. And what my teacher described to me afterwards, that blew my mind, because I wasn't aware of this. I let out quite a loud death scream when that ego died. What he saw, which blew my mind and everybody's mind, and I haven't shared this story many times at all, but he actually saw, as I passed out, let out the death scream, and I went to my waiting area, he caught me. Like, I physically lost consciousness. He caught me, puts me on the ground, and what he described was Pachamama, the planet Earth, scooped up this dark energy that was my ego and pulled it back into itself. So this energy is like a mask that we're using temporarily, that was given to us as we come into this incarnation. And when we're done with it, Pachamama takes it back.
Right.
That shit is wild.
Yeah.
And
So
even
again,
after all that, there's still an ego. There's still thoughts. Sometimes it's still going on, but it's not running the show anymore. The self is running the show, and I still have my things that I get a little triggered, and this person's stupid. Of course, I'm still a human being, and I have to be, because if I had stayed in that state, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do a podcast. I couldn't get on a bus. I couldn't fly to a country. I couldn't do shit in the state I was in then. Nothing.
we have no operating system for
Yeah.
the human avatar.
Yeah.
And so, when people say their naivety, oh, you think you're enlightened or awoken, well, your ego is this and your ego is that. And I just go, well, look, if you know anything about gurus, if you study them all over the planet, then you will see that everybody has an ego, because they have to have an ego, because you couldn't exist. You would be a catatonic if you didn't have an ego. And so it's a complete fallacy that the ego dies. They've got no idea what the ego is, being an operating system. And so, speaking
It's
to
layers. It's layers
you,
and layers and layers.
you,
Yeah.
you, You can only speak about this stuff with the highest of spiritual gradient, intellect, old soul, whatever. It takes a certain something to be in a realm. And, you can have people having spiritual experiences, this and the other. They're like, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? And they never mention them again. They're not ready for it. They don't know how to assimilate that stuff on that level because they don't have the conscious capacity. And maybe it was just a glitch in the matrix or something which enabled them to, have a religious or spiritual experience. And many people have them, but they will never take it to the next level. They will never go on to have any more, and they will never assimilate what they've had.
Mm.
Now, what you're speaking about, when I was listening to you speaking with Paul, I'm like, that sounds like your brain was inducing DMT. Because what you described is exactly what I get out of DMT. You look at everything absolutely mesmerized as if for the first time. You don't have an ego because the ego's gone offline. You are pure soul spirit looking at the world around you. This is why it's called waking up. And you go, I never saw this, I never saw that. Look how beautiful this is, look how beautiful that is. And you can't talk to people. Talking to people is ridiculous. It's the purpose, it's stupid. What are words? They're nothing. That's why when we come out of DMT experiences, you can't articulate this stuff. It's massively beyond. So what I have concluded also is that, I've had occasions where I've been standing on the beach and I've been doing Wim Hof breathing, this, that, and the other. Then all of a sudden I've seen manifestations of some sort of bearded bloke like me in the clouds. Some people could say God, and I've seen, very, very similar things on DMT, like a Platonic or an Aristotelian type character with a robe on in the clouds with all his beard looking out over the fucking land. Absolutely crystal clear, like Michelangelo had painted it. That's why I know where all these biblical stories came from, because people were having these DMT releases, whether it was natural or whether it was induced. It's the DMT which Rick Strassman calls the God molecule. Yeah, for a very good reason. And I conclude, well, at least in my book, I heavily speculate, is God a molecule? Because the only times I have ever experienced God, I've been in an altered state of consciousness. What took me into the altered state seemed like a chemical reaction in my brain. Sometimes it was because I was artificially inducing stuff, and other times I was in a different state because I was in a very, very deep, profound meditative state, yeah? Or a breathing state. And when you do these things, then your body on occasion will release DMT, and then you will see all different sort of DMT-esque stuff, and you will feel absolutely blissful. On one occasion, I'm out cycling. I go cycling 3, 4 times a week, 8 miles, and then I get off the bike and I'm looking up at the clouds, and also the ego goes away, and I look. It's like the world stood still, like you were saying, only it doesn't stand still. It's still in motion, but it feels like it stood still. Maybe because that's how ego stood still. The clouds are still moving and the trees are still waving, but you look at it, you know it's all you. You know it's God. You know it feels like it's love. It feels like it's absolutely blissful and it's wonderful. And you just say to yourself, my God, I want to stay here forever. That's what heaven's all about. On another occasion, Alex, when we're kids, I never did it as a kid. I only did it, in recent times with a friend of mine. But if we compromise our carotid or artery, several times by pulsing it in after you've been deep breathing for about 10 times, then the oxygen will be cut off from your brain and you'll pass out. When your consciousness comes back online, it comes back online several seconds before the ego. And that's the real you. And that's when you look at the world and you go, fuck, this is the most beautiful, incredible. I feel fucking wonderful. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Then the ego comes online and he goes, oh, he was just doing this silly thing, and you fell unconscious. That wasn't real. And the ego, fuck off, ego. Get the fuck out of my life, you bastard. Why are you always trying to steal away the heaven from the human being?
Oh, you'll like this. Um, so after I had that full-on ego death, self-realization, uh, it was some period of no thoughts at all, right? Just the self. And And I actually remember the first thought. I saw it. It's funny. In my mind's eye, there was a thought and I saw it and I went, oh, there's a thought coming. And I was like, and I had some wisdom. I said, no, I'm not going to explore that. And it just fucked off and it was just God. And then at another time, it was another one. And I thought, oh, there's another thought trying to come in. And I went, no, there's no need to bother with that. It's rubbish. And I just let it go. I just kept being in the oneness. And at some point, it was one that seemed a bit more interesting. And I thought, all right, I'll take a look at that one.
Yeah.
Big mistake, mate. Big mistake. So sure enough, eventually, okay, one little bit of mine comes back in. And now here I am, just another asshole, same as everybody else, with some cool spiritual stories. But definitely quieter and definitely the ego not quite running the show the same. But it is quite funny, similar to the waking up when passing out. There are moments, and people have these moments with washing dishes. You're just washing dishes and you're just having fun with the soap and it's nice and clean and then there's nobody here. And most people will snap themselves out of it. Oh, whoa, what was that? That was you. Just for a second, you actually felt yourself without that programming ego and the wants and the trauma, but just pure presence for a second. And they run because it's fucking terrifying. It's terrifying. What was that?
Yeah.
My God. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And so the vast majority of people, if they aren't destined to wake up, like some of us are, then they will spend their whole lives running. They're like the three wise monkeys. They'll see no wisdom, hear no wisdom, and speak no wisdom. Only with the monkeys is evil. But when you see what I always do, I always turn things around or invert things. The three wise monkeys is we see no evil, we speak no evil, and we hear no evil. But if you just turn that around and if you go, well, what if you inverted it to its polar opposite, and you can say, well, I'll speak no love, I'll hear no love, and I'll see no love. And then what is love? Well, love's wisdom. That's why philosophy is the love of wisdom, which nurtures our soul. And so if you will see no and hear no and speak no wisdom, then you will keep yourself firmly contained in the evil of the ego. And when we look at the heaven and hell is right and left hemispheres of our brain. Hell is the left, the logical, and the reasonable, which is the operating system, which keeps out all the stuff that we've been told. Stop dreaming, stop fantasizing. Oh, you live on cloud nine. You do. Come back to the fiction. Come back to the evil, this solid world. There isn't fucking solid soul. Look at all the stuff. And you ask yourself, wow, I mean, is it really human beings that have been doing this to us? Or is it spirit? Is this world just filled with evil spirits as well? There's an equal amount of evil spirits. In my book, again, you'll come across so many incredible things which I speak about. I speak about encountering spirits. We're filled with spirits. There's so many of them. Some of them are conducive and some of them are not. When we recognize the ones which are conducive, we welcome them. When we recognize the ones that are not conducive to us, we can, in actual fact, do something about them. And this is what we call an exorcism. We exorcise this evil, negative entity from us because they're only freelancers. They will attach to your avatar if they think it's going to be fun.
One of the things that changed my life completely, and I talk about it a lot, and I guess I'm supposed to talk about it now, but you nailed it on the head. You just absolutely nailed it on the head. This was about 2011, 12. I had all these health problems. I had no energy. I was speaking to doctors. They had no fucking idea. They're trying to tell me, oh, yeah, it's a blood thing and a Hashimoto's and a thyroid and blah, blah, blah. Nobody had any ideas. And I ran into a woman who was basically a white witch, mystic, whatever you want to call her. And she was doing an exercise with me and some friends where she was teaching us how to see auras around each other. And I was rubbish at it. Everyone else was seeing auras, and I actually couldn't do it. And then she looks at me in this exercise and says, You know, you have this thing that looks like a kind of an alien head, and it's floating over your left shoulder, and it seems to be drained. There's energy going from you to it. So you might want to take a look at that. And I'm looking, and this is early in my awakening. I'm like, the hell are you talking about? Anyway,
The
long
message
story.
just goes, anyway, end the
Anyway,
chat.
yeah, shall we get some
Next
lunch?
time
I
next
said,
week.
hang on a minute, love. So long story, and I'm telling you, I was so ill. I was 30, early 30s. Don't drink, don't smoke, none of that. I would walk around a mall for 2 hours, exhausted. Got to go home and just take an. I mean, ridiculous. And so I found somebody who helped me remove this thing. It's a whole story. But when this thing was removed, dude, I all my energy came back. I started running around doing jumping jacks, just fuck like it was unbelievable the amount of energy I had the moment that thing's removed and never came back. I am an absolute. I'm 45 years old. Look at this face, like great health, no problems whatsoever. Fucking life is amazing. I had an energetic, a non-beneficial energetic parasite that was draining my life force energy. It's insane how many of these things are out there and how they're affecting people, your psychology, your health, your level of energy, the types of quality of thoughts you have. It's insane. And I had no choice. After that happened and that changed my life, I went deep down the rabbit hole. I trained with Raymond Grace, who's a dowser, and I learned how to speak to spirit using a pendulum, and you can call it New Age. That shit works. You can talk to spirits and have them help you, clear your field and do all kinds of crazy shit. So I learned that, and then I learned about muscle testing because I read the book Power versus Force by David Hawkins. Completely changed my life. If anybody hasn't read Power versus Force, you really absolutely have to. And I learned about muscle testing, and it's been around for a very long time. Your body goes strong at truth if you speak truth. And you'll see people, they hold out your arm and they'll push down. And if I say my name is Alex, my arm is strong. If I say my name is Sarah, and you push down my arm because I'm lying, the body knows I'm lying because there's lack of truth, and my body will go weak. And so you can use this to ascertain truth. And so I learned over many, many years how to speak to spirit. I stopped using the dowser because I thought I don't need this thing. I have my own spiritual connection. I don't need to have this little thing. It's useful as a learning tool. And I just speak to spirit directly now. And I have a prayer, and I put it on my, on my I Project Love website for everybody. But I'm always telling people about it. And the prayer, it doesn't even matter the exact words you use, but as long as you understand, if you ask your higher self, Christ consciousness, your spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, all of it, to remove any non-beneficial energies, and you're sincere, they will be removed. So as simple as, spirit world, spirit guides, Christ consciousness, higher self, please assist me in this moment in inviting any non-beneficial energies to ascend to a higher order of consciousness where they will come into alignment with the will of love. Boom. So, and it's a bit less aggressive, like tell them to fuck off. No, invite them to ascend into love so they can be in integrity, and now they'll stop draining my life force. Use whatever words you want. But if you actually do that prayer to your higher self, you will be cleansed, and it may change your life. And sometimes if I'm around people of a low level of consciousness or people who drink alcohol, these things still jump on me, and I can feel it. And I'm like, why do I feel? Oh, fuck, I have to do that. And dude, sometimes if you go into a crowd of people, I might have to clear myself 2-3 times in a day because they love my energy. They love it. If you're a light worker and you're on the spiritual path and you're doing good, they love your energy and they love fucking with you. And I have many, many, many crazy stories about what I'm speaking of here. This is one of the most important things I could ever share with any listener. Understand that you are delicious and the dark forces love your energy, and speak to spirit with whatever and clear yourself and ask to be cleared, and you will be cleared.
Alex, write your fucking book. I'm telling you now.
I know I'm supposed to.
Your fucking book.
I've been lazy.
I'm shivering all over. I'm going goose pimples because I know that you've got to do it. Spoon knows you got to do it. You know you got to do it. It's a matter of time whenever you're ready. In my books, I call them gremlins. And I say that they jump from body to body. If you are susceptible, if you're not aware, if you are not protected, then these fuckers will jump on your back, and they'll drain your energy, and they'll have you doing all different sorts of shit. And so I've got a whole chapter about how to deal with negative energies, how to see them in people, why they come about. And it's kind of like, look, if you're watching a negative video, which is coming from a negative soul, that negative energy will come down the fucking 5 octaves. It'll come through the ether.
100%.
It will come to you if you are susceptible to it.
Mate, I gotta tell you something
Go
crazy. Crazy. You're the only person I've spoke to who actually I can feel knows this.
Yeah,
Like I knows this. Like, fucking amazing, dude. This is really. People are gonna think I'm fucking weird. I don't care, because it happens to be true. It's gotten to the point where me and my friends, my close friends, are so sensitive to these energies. We have had it where not only we'll speak to someone on a Skype, on a Telegram call or WhatsApp call in another
yeah,
country, and then be like,
yeah.
fucking hell, I've got one. I picked one up. We need to do the clearing prayer. We've had moments where we'll think about somebody who we know is having a bit of a hard time. We'll think about them and talk about it and go, somebody just picked one up and we have to do the clearing. That's how connected we are. It
Yeah.
is fucking ridiculous, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
By thinking of a being that is that is doesn't have their shit together and is dirty and has attachments, they can go, oh, we like that person that's thinking about us, boom, and they're on you and you need to clear it.
Yes, exactly. And
Ridiculous.
these negative energies, they take the opportunity to come around, to live vicariously through you,
Mhm.
and they can come, they'll come via alcohol, they'll come via any pollutant.
Fear,
They love all
fear.
that shit. You will never get any attachments like that from doing healthy activity, from doing, deep heartfelt meditation, from exercising, from, learning all about, spiritual things, from a positive vantage. If you want to learn about the dark because you want to use the dark, then they'll come, and they'll go, well, this guy's calling. This guy's inquiring. This guy's open. If your doors are open, they're coming. But if you're anything like me, look, I'll read all these different sorts of books like this, Madame Blavatsky, and there is a double volume here. This sort of stuff teaches you about all of the spiritual, the metaphysical, the mystical, every fucking thing from year dot all over the world. And if you open yourself up, which you can, Alistair Crowley, the people like that, they welcome in these spirits and they will engage with them. But if you say to yourself, well, I'm just looking and I'm not open, then that's it. Then they can't penetrate. And so I don't ever perform any ritual or anything because it's just a mind thing. My mind already does it. My mind goes, no thanks. I'm too long in the tooth for you fucking idiots to be hanging around. Sometimes I'll feel one and I'll start to think like one. I'm like, oh, that's fucking interesting. Where did you come from?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for your advice. Thank you for the offer, but no thanks. Okay? I'm done with all that stuff now. I'm done with it. So in my book, I write about how our minds, our consciousness, our soul, it's very difficult to define, our ego, our everything in a conglomerate, is a free-for-all for spirits. And the more evolved you are, the more spirits you will gather on your journey.
Mm.
And if you are, adventurous person, then you adventurous for fucking reason because you've got a spirit who is adventurous. If you're on a fear-based person, you're fear-based for a reason because you've got a fear-premised, inducing, creating entity. So every single thing we do, every single facet we do, pertains to spirits. And if you look at it like that, then you can assess your home. And what I consider our minds to be like, and Carl Jung spoke about some of the things like this, that our minds are like houses. And within these houses, there are rooms, and within these rooms, they will be residents. And so, I take it a step further, and I go, look, if you imagine that you've got a house, you are a house with, let's say, 20 rooms. In every single one of these rooms, unless you have invited certain spirits in, they're going to be occupied by squatters, by spirits that you didn't invite. And so you look inside your consciousness and you see what spirits you've got, and you go, wow, there's this very, very aggressive, argumentative spirit. And then there's this one that just lusts after women. And then there's one that loves to do cocaine now and again. And then there's this one, then there's that one. Oh my God, you are fucking infestation, aren't you? And that's how I was. I used to be the one with, several whores a day and cocaine and alcohol. And I always needed to live dangerous. I always needed to be on the brink of death. And there was this thing inside me going, ha, 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 I'm alive now. But then there was another spirit in me which just had to say, hey, 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 fucking calm down. That's just a little bit too far. There's all this stuff going on. So by the time you realize all this stuff going on, you have to calm down. And you have to go, okay, I've got 20 rooms. Who's in number one? You look, who's in number one? The spirits will tell you who's in number one. And you will assess whether you want them to stay there or not. If not, you go, I'm giving you your eviction orders. You can't get rid of them straight away. You have to work on it. It's very much like in this reality. If you have a house and you leave it vacant, then squatters have rights. They can actually enter into your property and reside there because it was vacant. And then you need to go to a court of law to evict them. Well, that's what you have to do with your unwanted spirits. And so you have to work on the eviction. And how you do that, you stop feeding them. Every time there is this particular spirit that you feel is moving you in a direction, then you have to cut it off. You have to sever it. You have to have a great level of awareness. How do you get this awareness? Through deep meditation. When you got a level of deep meditation, then you can see them quite clearly. And then in time, you evict them all. And it took me 7 years through the dark night of the soul, through a great deal of this lethargy. I was tired all the time. 7 years, Alex. I was fucking tired, man. And, there's no reason why I should be. I was young. I was fit. I've always been very, very powerful. But I had all these attachments. And over time, they all had to go. And then when they go, it's kind of like, wow, I'm free. I'm walking on air. Walking on air. But I do have one remainder, and I keep that one. And that's, I call him supercilious.
I thought you were going to say Christ consciousness, baby. I was like, I got that one too. Yeah.
Well, Christ consciousness is a given.
That's our,
I have Christ consciousness, but our Christ consciousness will be affected. It will be compromised by the devil, so to speak. And
we can get into that one.
The one I keep around, and I haven't got to the bottom of why I keep it around. Supercilious, who at any given moment will just make a video, really bad mouthing anyone that's watching my videos. And it's kind of like, ha ha ha, that was fun, wasn't it? Let's see what they've got to say about that. And I'm like, but you keep doing this, you're always doing it. Isn't it get old now? It'll never get old. Remember you've got new viewers, and remember, if they think they know what you're about, well, just give them this one. Let them really start thinking about something. And that's kind of like what you're saying, with the old COVID thing and everything. We want people to really start to think. It's not evil. It's just.
Yeah, it's shaking it up a little bit so they.
Yeah, and like maybe. When I was a kid, I used to always walk around with a stick in the nature, and I always used to be poking it into every hole and every beehive and everything like that. Just to see
I was like that with vaginas.
You put it in just to see what happens.
Exactly. And then followed by lots of apologizing. But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll speak about all that stuff. I'm not shy about coming forward, and I reveal it all. My whoring and my drug taking, all the bad drugs and all that sort of stuff, and how my ego was just so domineering and overbearing and just running wild. It was fucking running wild. I used to run my own business. I had like 20 staff, people working for me. I was like fucking, the leader of the Third Reich. I was completely unforgiving and unsympathetic. I had, an operation in hand, and I was like on my, operations board, and I was pushing the tanks over here. I was pushing the planes over there, and anything that got in my way would be destroyed.
Well done, sir. You had that full-on ego experience. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to have that to let go of. That's very interesting about the different rooms. I haven't personally done what you've said, so I think you may have gone deeper into getting to know the spirits and such and booting them out. That's very fascinating. But just as long as people fundamentally understand that it is their choice, and if they absolutely make that decision, they say, "Hey, I'd like to remove anything that's non-beneficial." That's the non-beneficial energies of any kind, because you may have energies around you that are giving you great ideas, and they're looking out for you, and they're your friends, and they love you, and those are there too. but the non-beneficial ones, they're not your friends, and they're not, you may not want some of those around. So
Yeah,
just an awareness to have.
yeah, well, when we look at what the ego is, we can't just blame the ego for all the things we do. So you see, because look, people used to always level at me, my ego, and I said, well, my ego has taught me to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. It's taught me, in the depths of the ocean to dive on shipwrecks. It's taught me fossicking underground in potholes, 1.5 mile deep. It's taught me all around the world doing so many things. And so, thank you, ego. But then, if we're going to blame everything on the ego, well, the ego, yeah, makes me do drugs and it makes me a whore and it makes me belittle people and do all these sort of things. And so, you kind of like, well, just to blame the ego and gratify the ego for all these things is too simple. And so we have to look for an alternative. And so I started to look for alternatives, and I started to recognize that there were more than one in
Hmm.
here. And I'm like, well, there's most certainly, at the very, very least, two. They're very, very obvious. But then even these two have an whole entourage of their own.
Mm.
Let's say you've got malevolent and benevolent. Well, they have an entourage. They've got a team of their own, and they're all to different levels, and they all take care of different jobs. And so it's a case of, well, which ones don't you need anymore? I don't need the whoring one anymore. I don't need the one that's going to be taking all different sorts of cocaine shit dealt to me by mafia in a fucking nightclub, which is poisoning my body. I don't need that motherfucker. So thank you. You were great. You were fun. I don't need you anymore. And then we go down like this, and then we get back down to our basics, and we go, well, who's here now?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Not that long ago, I was dating a woman. We just come into a new relationship, and we really like each other. We really liked each other a lot, and something really interesting happened. We made love, maybe not in the most conscious way. We were just horny, and we did it, and it was fine. And then right afterwards, I noticed. I said, "That's weird. I don't feel anything." It's like a minute ago, I really liked her. I don't, and I think, oh, that's typical. You hook up with a woman and you just drop her. But I'm not like that. I'm actually I get attached and I like the connection and getting to know someone and all this. So it
Yeah.
didn't make sense. And she also was, and then she also in the relationship suddenly didn't have the same feelings, and she's acting like super needy, which she doesn't usually do. And I'm getting weird thoughts in my head, like, oh yeah, just send her a text once and then don't ever message her again. And I'm like, I would never do that. That's so mean. What the fuck is going on? And we're almost broken up. We're almost about to break up. It's very strange. It makes no sense because a week ago I thought she was great. And then I think, okay, I'm going to come over there. We need to figure out what's going on. So, and she says, okay, come over. So I go over to her house, and we're sitting there, and we're talking. I said, this doesn't make sense. I liked you so much. We had a great connection, and we made love, and then it just stopped, and now it's not there. It's like there's a block. And she said, yeah, I feel really weird. I don't understand what's going on. And in that moment, I said, I wonder if there's some kind of a attachment or something. As soon as I said those words, the room went cold. She looked at me like, what the fuck? I did the clearing prayer. I muscle tested, just double checking. Do I have one? Yeah, I had one demonic attachment. Good. I check her. Yeah, she's got one demonic attachment. Okay, cool. Talk to spirit, clear it. As soon as it's cleared, the moment it was clear, I look at her. She looks at me and goes, "I really like you a lot. She's like great." Boom, and then we ended up, having a relationship and being together. So because she was a soul that was on the mission of awakening and spreading love, and so was I, and we were brought together for that mission. Spirit went no, no, or the dark forces, the satanic forces went,
Yeah.
no, no, let's get these two apart as quickly as possible. And in a moment of literally orgasm, something came in, and literally it was like a cage around our hearts, and we could not feel love for each other. It was freaky how in one prayer that was cleared, and it was fine. It was unbelievable. And the fact that people don't have that knowledge, people are being broken up by the dark forces when they meet someone with whom they could have a profound connection and a profound impact on this planet by being together, maybe writing a book together. Who knows what two beings can create out of love? Everything great, you could argue, has been created out of love on this world. And they will come in, the dark forces will come in, and they will break you up and destroy it right at the beginning. And that's how sneaky they are. That's how important this knowledge is that we're talking about right here. I mean, it doesn't get more important than this.
Yeah, and it all boils down to awareness, doesn't it? It all comes down to being aware that we are spirit. And if we are spirit, then it stands to reason that everyone else is spirit. And if everyone else is spirit, then it stands to reason that there's other spirits around as well. And then because there's, the whole good and evil, and, through mythology, myths have always told us about the evil forces and the good forces. Well, we better learn about them. But the vast majority of people, they're afraid of that and they won't learn about them. And if they don't learn about them, they have no protection against them. And it's very, very simple, isn't it? And so, what is it? The greatest asset the devil has is that you don't believe in him. And if you don't believe in something, you'll never see evil manifesting in you. It'll be there. It will lie unawares, and it will be using you. You will be automaton for it until you become aware. But then, when you realize that you have an attachment, and you realize that you are like being, and you are God, and all these silly little demons, they're nothing in comparison. Then you go, "Hey, oh fuck." I was too busy, I was too distracted to even recognize you. But now I've recognized you. Wow, you've been playing some tricks. Well, anyway, you're good at what you do. Don't get me wrong. You're great and you may serve other people, but not me. So thanks. Bye. And then they have to leave. They can't stay around. They may want to go, oh, on a stage just around a little bit. Are you sure? And if you're not sure, and then you want to use that spirit to argue with a friend or lover or this, that, and the other, then he'll know that you're not serious, and it'll be difficult to get that severance, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a chat.
Yeah, fuck man. How long do you want to continue for? How long we done now?
It's been a stretch. I do have to piss like a racehorse, so at some point.
Yeah,
But I reckon we just put it out. We'll just do another one. We'll just do a part two because
Yeah,
we'll just keep going.
I'm open for anything because if you've got people that you can talk to, then there's so much to speak about. What I always say is, look, the first conversation we'll have is kind of like, oh, we feel each other out. We get to know a little bit of each other. We touch on many things, but then what I like to do is to come back to something specific, and I'd like to discuss what you think the ego really, really is. Then what do you think the soul really, really is? What you think the spirit really, really is? And when we've looked at those, I'll ask you, well, who are you referencing? Are you referencing anybody about these things? What part of intuition are you using? What part of experience are you using? Now, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable with anything like that, choose your own subject. But I've wrote about all these things, and so I've pretty well, got it down as to what, like, the house with all these spirits, and what the soul is, what the spirit is, and what the ego is, and at the ego goes and everything. Everything is really massive. And so just to politely, like a butterfly, touch on a lot of things, it doesn't give anybody anything. It just stimulates their interest. But to then pick subjects and go into it deep, wow, that's a whole different ball game.
I'd like to go deep with you, sir.
Yeah, but in a platonic sort of way.
100%. I set you up for that. Did you see I went serious there and I was giving you the eye
Yeah,
contact?
I'd like
I
to go
wonder if he
balls
gets
deep
it.
with you, sir.
There you go.
But people, they have to realize that Alex is a comedian, and feel free just to go off on one whenever because being a comedian, there's going to be lots of times during a serious conversation that you might not going to go, "Nah." Just fucking say it, just use it. I'll appreciate that, and it won't distract from the seriousness of our conversation.
It's a trick. No, you're absolutely. I appreciate the fact that you are aware of that. That my mind does work that way. So you may be on some beautiful spiritual topic, and there's just a joke there, and well, that's funny. But at the same time, I don't want to interrupt your flow because you're saying something that needs to be shared. So it's a balance for me. When
But
do I
say
get?
after.
Yeah,
Say
yeah.
after.
If I remember it in the flow, yeah. But sometimes it's not the same anymore. It's in that moment.
No.
You've said something, and if I point it out right there, it's funny. But after the moment is gone, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So if it arises naturally, great. If not, not. Whatever. We're just.
Yeah.
It's going to be what it's going to be.
So when you look at that, then you have to know that your comedic facet is a spirit. It's an autonomy onto itself.
That's very interesting. That I would really
Because
want to
you can't
go into.
prevent it from doing what it does.
It's very interesting because I've kind of thought of myself as because I know each soul has its own unique flavor, right? We're just different. Some souls love people. Other souls are like, fuck off. I want to be in a cave meditating. I don't need people at all. You know,
Yeah.
we're just very different. So I've always just had the sense that my soul likes to take the fucking piss. It likes to be the. I've been a jester. I've been a comedian. That's my flavor. That's what gives me the juice is taking the fucking piss and making fun of the Matrix and society and people. There's just a part of my soul. I hadn't considered that maybe it's a specific spirit within me that I'm co-creating with. That's not that not because I know my identity is the self, and I just assumed my soul that is part of that eternal oneself. It's just a funny one, but
Well,
I.
by the time we work out together what we think these concepts are, we'll realize that none of them are. They're all figments of our imagination in the oneness of nothingness. And so, people can say, oh, I realized it was a self. Well, the Buddhists will tell you there's no self. How deep do you want to go? And then when you say, oh, you're being an ego, well, I mean, I'm not being an ego. The ego is being a fucking ego. The ego is an entity unto itself, which has usurped the human experience. And so, let's qualify that motherfucker. And then when we're talking about the soul, well, what is the soul? Well, if we read the Bible, what the definition is and differences between soul and spirit, soul is the human life force with the ego inside it. You see, the Bible doesn't speak about the ego. The ego came later. The ego, as the terminology that we know, is a Freudian thing which came around in the very early 1900s. But prior to that, very, very few people used ego. They used soul, and that encompassed everything. But then we got a little bit more sophisticated with psychoanalysis, and then we started to discern the ego from the soul. You see, we can fractalize everything. We can pull things apart. We can find agencies within agencies. And so this is, how my mind works, and this is what I've done to an extent. And so, if you want to partake in that, that'll be great.
I would love to, and I think it would be very interesting to have another bit where we go super deep into all of it because I'm aware I've read a certain amount of books for sure, but I think you've read far more than me, and you've got all the philosophers and all this. I think you've done a lot
Yeah.
more reading, but most of my knowledge of self is actually from these direct experiences I've had. So I'm not that influenced by how other people think. I've just had a fuck ton of crazy awakening experiences that are yeah, I don't even know. I'm just unique. Whatever it is, my soul destiny, I don't know, but my knowledge comes from direct experience. So it'd be fascinating to actually go, well, here's what I've experienced. And then how does that compare to not only your own experiences, but all of the stuff that you've read from these great masters, et cetera. So I
Exactly.
think it
And
would be an
so,
absolutely fascinating conversation for us to both come in and go as
yeah.
deep as we can on all this
And
stuff.
it's another thousand arrows to our quiver because what I was doing on my journey, I was having all these crazy experiences, and then all of a sudden I needed to know why.
Mm,
And because spirit wasn't, downloading the wisdom of the cosmos, then I had to look for other sources.
mm,
So I thought, well, the other sources, the most brilliant people on the fucking planet, they might have an idea. So then I was reading copious amounts of psychology and philosophy and spirituality and all that different sort of stuff. And then I go, aha, 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 aha. And it helped me absolutely exponentially.
mm,
It fucking, honestly, read the book. You can buy the Kindle for fucking $10. But if you want a hard copy, it's $20. In there, I'll get down into the nitty gritty of explaining, some of this stuff. But even in a book of 250,000 words, I've only, it's only one grain of sand on the beach of life. And with 61 years on this planet, with all these experiences I've had, I try to be poignant in the book, and I use people like Plato with Plato's cave because we've experienced Plato's cave. We know what Plato's cave means.
mm,
Then St. John of the Cross with the Dark Night of the Soul. We know when we've been in that what the Dark Night of the Soul is. Then when we have meditative experiences, we know what it is to be in this bliss, this nirvana, this oneness, this samadhi. And so what I do is I speak of my experiences, and I go, look, you don't have to just believe me, if you are not initiated to all this stuff, read it from these people who wrote about it hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. And I do that throughout the whole of the book, so people can get a very, very broad understanding and feeling. And then I'm even audacious enough to say that it's the world's first spiritual Bible. Because of, if it was just with the geniuses of the people that I include in there, it will be a great book. But then it's got my personal experience, which people can relate to. I'm just a fucking shit kicker that's traveled around the world, and I'm just giving them my perspective. And some people will be able to get involved in that, and other people it won't touch them because they don't have that level of consciousness and sentience. It's horses for courses, isn't it?
Listen, I have got to piss. Let's have a piss break and then decide if we want to do a bit more or just wrap it up.
So I was just filling in a little bit whilst you weren't back, and I'm saying that having conversations like this is so great, but people could say, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to have conversations like this every day?" But no, it wouldn't because it's too exhausting. It takes a lot of energy, and there's so much to contemplate about the cosmos that you've got to go and do something else. You've got to go and have a walk in the park or something after it. The word stoic, it derives from stoa, and stoa is Greek for porch in a marketplace. And so the Stoics derived from those philosophers who used to sit under the porch, protecting themselves from the fierce Greek sun, which you know a lot about. And so, they went on to be renowned for their perspective on life. From that period and all the knowledge that they knew. And so there's a whole myriad of things that I broached in my book, and so without being conceited and pushy, I would love it if you would read that book, because you'll be highlighting every fucking page, and probably wanting to speak about things, and I will look more extensively into your videos to see if I can extract where you're coming from more, and then we can get into some stuff. But off the top of my head, our perspective on love is vastly different. Like to run that one by you, and then we can look at the self, and then a whole myriad of other different sorts of things. You see, what I say to my viewers, I've sold 100 of these books, and there's only been one person come forward to talk about what they discovered and found about the book. And this particular person came back, 15 times cumulatively for about 30 hours, speaking about all the highlighted bits that he wanted to know more about and wanted to discuss. Like a book club, because he did this already with his friends, so it wasn't something new to him. And nobody's got the time for that, and nobody's got the inclination. Most people feel a bit intimidated about that, and the vast majority of people can't retain information. And even when they read the book, they'll go, "Yeah, it's kind of like a good book, but it didn't really mean much to me." Well, I say the reason why it wouldn't is because it's coming from the cosmos. Without being demeaning in any shape or form, what I wrote in that fucking book is coming from the cosmos. And, people really do need to be broad in their consciousness to be able to extract in the full value of it.
Yeah, I
So
can.
what would you like to speak about? I mean, how many videos of mine have you actually watched?
I did. So the main one, a couple. The main one you had up was about 38 minutes. So the new one, that's the main one on your YouTube, and then I dove into another one. So a couple, but I'll get into it some more. It was enough to know that that we were supposed to talk. That's
Yeah.
all. It was actually a
Well,
follower. It was a follower. It was a guy who follows both of us who actually messaged me and said, "I've been following this other guy. He reminds me so much of like you. You guys have to talk. Trust me." And he just sent me a link, and I went, "All right." And I took a look, and a few minutes in, I'm like, "Yep, okay."
are you at liberty to divulge who he is?
I don't think it's a secret. I'd have to check because it was in an email somewhere. I've got a lot of email
Right, so
accounts
not
like everyone
someone
else,
that
but
you're
I'd have
too
to find.
familiar with then.
No, no, just somebody who follows me and just said, "Hey, you got to check this guy out." I could find the person. You might be somebody that you know, but I'll check for then just let you know.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
But God bless them because I wouldn't have found you because I don't have much time really to be. I'm very busy, so I wouldn't have found you unless he said, "Hey, check this guy out."
well, yeah,
God bless
because
that guy.
my channel's ghosted. There's no doubt about that, due to the amount of contraventions that I've perpetrated against YouTube.
Oh yeah,
So the
I'm
breakers are
with you.
proper. Yeah, the breakers are proper on my channel, and I've tried setting up my own website like you did, my own channel. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work because people are just too lazy. And they're hypnotized into the groove, and it's easy. And even really big names who have millions of followers on YouTube, when they get banned, and before they know they're going to get banned, they go, "Look, I'm going over here." A fraction of the people will follow them. It's
It's
just
true.
too much effort to go onto another channel and this and the other.
It's
And
it's
even
sad.
if you
It's
look
sad,
at
isn't it? It's sad.
it, is,
I've
it's
noticed the
depressing.
same thing. It is sad. It's just like, come on, if you love someone, go ahead and open a bloody account and follow them on the other thing where they can actually express themselves. It's not a big, they're not even asking for your money. They're just like, just go over there and follow me
Yeah.
over there.
Just
Yeah.
just click on another site like Rumble,
Yep.
register with that, and click the bells, and have it up on your toolbar, and just look at it like you would anything else. But it's amazing how few people will actually do that. And so I just conclude and I go, well, I don't care because look, when you're coming from uh, like a cosmic state of consciousness, and you're doing something which is beyond your volition, and that you're being channeled and all the rest of the stuff. It's beyond you. And so my ego has a go. It's like, well, are you going to thumb up, are you going to say something? But that's just ego. And just to let it go, let it flow, is what we really should be doing. But we still have to participate in this damn thing, don't we? Because I'm not just going to be a mouthpiece for the fucking cosmos. The ego is grown into quite a powerful egregore. You know what I'm saying?
Man, this is a lot of fun. It's a real treat, man. Really, really appreciate you and the journey you've been on, and that you've been true to yourself and really expressing yourself as it's coming through on YouTube, no matter what people think. It's a very rare quality. Seriously,
Yeah,
really,
and I
really, really
appreciate
a
you
treat.
for saying that. And lots of people would say that, they're aghast at why I don't have, a million followers.
A
Um,
million people aren't ready for you, my friend.
yeah,
A reality. There's
yeah,
and we're not. This is a really interesting one that I've sat with as well. But there's a especially with beings who are truly awake and the effect that we're having. It's actually there's a certain speed at which is the highest for us to help others because it's there's not that many people that can go very, very quickly. So we're not supposed to have a million followers right now. There's not a million people that are ready for the transmission right now. But if you
yeah,
can affect 100 people, 1,000 people profoundly, my friend, what those will do for the planet and what those people will do that they've woken for the planet, we cannot even imagine that the effect that we're having. But when the consciousness is ready for you and I to have millions of followers, we will. But only the ego thinks, oh no, that should be sooner. It should be, come on, I've made over 1,000 videos. Come on, guys, what's going on here? It's
yeah.
perfect. It's always unfolding at exactly the right speed.
So on your channels, I've looked at you discontinued with the YouTube one because it was mostly about COVID, I think, and so you probably just wanted to
No,
separate
no,
us.
no, that's not the case. I have quite a few channels. The Woke as Fuck podcast, which was my spiritual podcast, which I started in 2015. It was just that was me doing interviews when I was absolutely obsessed with self-realization. So talking to people, but also absolutely conspiracy stuff as well. But it was mainly about spirituality. But those people were very much awake. So it was mixing. I call it woke as fuck, but it was like spiritually awake and awake to the 3D fucking satanic bullshit. So it was really for people who are awake and interested in
Yeah.
spirituality. It was really mixing those two. And then when I got into when the pandemic was happening in 2020, I became very active trying to wake people up, making funny videos, etc. So I did put some of those up on that channel just because I wanted to get those videos out to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that channel wasn't really for my activism; it was for my spiritual journey.
Yeah.
But they kept censoring, they kept shutting me down when once I started mentioning certain things. I'd get the first time I got a strike, I was talking about my heart-opening experiences and realizing we're all one while working with San Pedro, which is a
Yeah. Not allowed to say
profound.
San Pedro.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So I should have said a
In
certain
certain
cactus.
contexts, it's very, very bizarre. It's very, very difficult to work out. They don't want you to work out what context. But you
But
can see people that are saying all these different sorts of things, and they're getting away with it. And you go, well, why aren't I getting away with it? Um,
it's very interesting. But anyway, I noticed that they shut that down, and I'm like, nothing was said other than I was having these beautiful. Where it was very strange. And then, of course, in 2020, I would mention warning people about certain agendas, and they really started clamping down. And I thought, if I keep streaming to this channel, they're going to take down the channel and all the episodes and all the one. And I said, okay, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna stop for now. And then I was having all these insane awakenings during that period. And then I thought, well, I'll start a Rumble channel for my new project, which is the I Project Love, which is Spirit gave that to me.
yeah.
I project love on many levels. It's kind of cute. And so I started a show there, and it was all about love and oneness and talking about the new consciousness of the earth and blah, blah, blah. And I was doing that, and I just, there was so much going on in life. At some point, I started working on other things, and I said, I'll get back to it when I can. So I haven't been doing specific recordings about consciousness and spirituality specifically. I'll talk about other things, but specifically about just this, I haven't. And until now, where my friend showed me your thing, and I said, okay, I got to do one because now I'm interested. Suddenly, I'm like, no, I really want to go deep with this soul. And that's why we're here today, because I thought, no, let's do it. And I'll probably put this up on both those channels, so as many people that are interested in the topic are going to see this interview. Yeah,
Brilliant. And so if you would be so kind to list all of the channels that you want me to promote and put in
sure.
the description, if you do them in where I can just copy and paste the whole thing, because I'm pretty low on this tech what can I say? Inclination. I'm very uninclined to get involved with tech, but obviously people are going to be wanting to know what you're about. I'm sure of that. And to speak about more of these things in depth is going to be great. And then just to see what sort of feedback that you get from your channel about someone like me, and how they thought we gelled together, and the subject that they would like to hear more about, and these sort of things. I suppose that my mind's very inquisitive, and I bamboozle my viewers with questions about, well, what about this and what about that, and can you tell me about this and can you tell me about that? And it's kind of like, Aaron, you make videos for an hour fucking long. You talk about a million subjects. By the time I got through 5 minutes of it, my head's fucking exploding. And then you want me to fucking put more stuff down, and I'm like, fuck. I can speak to people very, very regularly, and I'll see the energy drain out of them.
Mm.
Because there's too much information coming over. And I made a video which is very simple, and it was an illustration about acorns. And I said, look, I'm growing oak trees in my kitchen. And I said, will you acorns ever become oak trees? And then I told them about the germination process, and some make it and some don't. Some thrive and some don't. Some are going to grow, to be 1,500 years oaks. Is that you? Are you going to be an old soul? Which one are you? Nothing comes back. I'm like, my God, don't you guys think about these things? But then they don't, you see, because they're busy. They've got jobs to do. They've got wives. They've got kids. They've got all the. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a variety of a person, like an old stoic sitting under the fucking porch. That's what I do. That's what I've done for 15 years. I'm an emancipated fucking light being. And so my mind is given to philosophy and spirituality and things like that. And so, I'm crying out in the wilderness to see if I can attract a few more. And very, very seldom do I get one. And, like yourself, you're going to be busy and you probably can pop in now and again, and that'll be the extent of it. It's kind of like, this is why, these gurus and the like, they go off to the cave because they realize that probably that's the place where they should be.
Well, two points there I'd love to jump in on. The first one was, all right, I'll do the second one. The cave thing is an option. When I had my first really, really big pop, there was a point where I'm like, what's the point? There's only God. What's the point? I'm just going to go into a cave. And that's a whole story of how I really understood that wasn't for me in this lifetime. But the first point I wanted to jump in on, something juicy you said a second ago, and I really wanted to share. Hang on. Oh, okay, it's not there. Okay, I'll do the second one. The first God realization was pretty profound, and I was quite contemplating giving away my business. I had a successful business. I just didn't see the point in it because none of it mattered. Everything was God, and it was such a fucking pain in the ass being here and dealing with shit and people. I thought, fuck it, I'll just go into a cave.
Yeah.
And I called up one. I was very lucky. I met one man who's also an awakened master, and I met him in India many years before, and we had stayed in touch. And I messaged him and I said, look, I had this thing. I remembered that there's only God, and I just don't see the point of it. The world, it's a pain in the ass. What's the point? I'm just going to fuck off into a cave. I think I'm really thinking of just selling everything and just piss right off. And he said, okay. So, and I told him about the experience and everything. And he said, yep, what you're going through is normal. When you have this type of awakening, there's only two ways it can really go.
Chocolate and cold water.
Well, he says to me, he says, well, the first thing that might happen is you may actually, it's the path of the arahat. You will renounce the world. You'll fuck off into a cave. No one's going to see you again. And that's fine. And if that's what you're meant to do. And he says, the other one, though, is the path of the bodhisattva. And if that's what you are, you're going to dedicate your life to the liberation of all beings from suffering. And you won't be able to not do that. You either way, you're fucked. It's already destined. You don't even have to worry about it. There's no decision to be had. Go for a walk. Go drink a cup of tea. Forget about it. You'll know. Yeah. This is advice. Just don't even bother. You're fucked. No matter what you think is happening, one of those is going to happen. I said, okay. And I just was like, I'm not even going to think about this. And I'm just wandering off for a couple of days, just taking it easy. And it just, in one moment, I said, oh, actually, wait, let me just tune in for a second. Am I really going to go into a fucking cave? And just for a moment, I sat with it. And it just came, boom. Fuck no, I'm here to serve. I am here to wake this planet the fuck up. Everything, all my gifts, all my following and me being funny and all this shit, it's here for a purpose and it's to be used by the self for the liberation of all beings. And I knew it absolutely crystal clear. And I was like, all right then, back to it. And I just went back into life. But for a moment, I really was thinking of that cave, man. And I think we've all had those cave lifetimes, but we're not supposed to do it every time. Sometimes we're supposed to go into a cave, other times we're not. And apparently this time, we're not.
Yeah, and so what you say is pretty well, mirror image of, what I'm doing now. A couple of years ago, I created a new WhatsApp channel, and I called it Bodhisattva, because I'd realized after all these years, reluctantly, a lot of the time, the ego's been fighting against it. Oh, I'm tired of talking to the dead and trying to raise the dead. And, Jesus told everybody, don't throw pearls to swine and let the dead bury the dead. So, take that advice, but I can't take that advice. And so then ultimately, I'm kind of like, look, I'm just doing what Cosmos has fucking told me to do, that there's nothing within my power. I am in a cave, I am pretty reclusive, but I'm also a bodhisattva, and it's been my curse or fucking pleasure or journey to try the best I can to raise everybody up, because I can't leave here, and it's probably really selfish. Listen, guys, I can't leave here.
Yeah, wake the fuck up so I can get out of here.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
And that's, you see,
What a
we
prick.
exercise our frustration as being like, cosmically switched on beings that we know what the job is. And it's kind of like, gotta fucking hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, because it's beautiful up there. You know, it's fantastic. It's amazing. Come on, let's go. But it's like Plato's cave. When the guy went out and saw the beauty and everything, he came running back in. He said, "Come on, look at all." They went, "Fuck you."
Fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't happening. So it's kind of like, wow, it's an exercise in humility.
Mm.
And, I'm a curious one because I was gifted or cursed with such an exponential ego, which enabled me to travel all around the world and do all this experience and gather all this information so I can do what I do today. It gave me the power and the strength to do all that. But, it burns most people's eyes. And I don't know, it's kind of like, well, the cosmos, the cosmos is in control of that. I'm not in control of that. How could I be in control of that? I wasn't in control of my ego, how much ego I got. I wasn't in control of all the shit I've done in my life. I'm not in control in nothing. Cosmos is in control of everything. So I'm just kind of like, just let it be. But every now and then, the ego, one of the spirits will shoot his mouth off in some sort of direction, which seems like very dichotomous. But it is dichotomous. This whole thing is a paradox. And why is a paradox? It's because there's too many variables going on. There's too many egregoric energies with spirits and all this sort of thing. Every fucking thing has got its hand in this stuff. And I've always maintained that the human energy is the most sought after in the cosmos.
Mm. It's a hell of an experience. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So on that note, then we should probably wrap this one up and let this simmer and pass ideas back to each other about what we might want to speak about the next time and when, and we'll see if any of our viewers have got any input. If they want us to go deeper on this, that, and the other, but whether they do or they don't, well, that's what they're going to get. They're going to get deeper, and so that's the only way it is. But the whole bodhisattva thing, the Buddhists worked these things out many years ago, didn't they? And so you have to look at the level of wisdom, which is cosmic wisdom.
Mm.
How the fuck did they work that one out? And people like you and I, who find ourselves doing something and then realizing why we're doing it. And then when we realize that people have spoken about this thousands of years ago, we're like, fuck, I'm caught in the same net as what they were speaking about years ago. Why me? But then I say to people, look, I'm doing this job egoically, reluctantly, because there's probably lots of other things I'd like to be doing, but because I'm blessed for doing this, I'm like one of these Illuminati doing whatever they're doing, but getting paid for doing it. Okay, so they may be nefarious. Some of them may think they're benevolent and what they're doing, because we all work differently in here, don't we? Half of America can't be evil. They just think very, very differently. Democrats opposing, the Republicans. They both think the other one's the devil. But, either they're both the devil or neither of them are the devil. Which is it? And if we look at our humanisms, well, we are both the devil and God. That's what the human being is. So fucking work together. There shouldn't be two parties. There should only ever be one party because we're one species, we're one race. But all we've got to do is realize that we're dichotomous here. Realize that we all have evil running through our fucking hearts. So we just better learn to manage it.
I love everything that you say. I would say it's not evil running through our hearts. It's evil. The opportunity to access evil is there for the ego. It's there. It's more in our minds. It's really, the evil comes from here because our hearts are pure. The human heart is pure. Our very nature is absolute, unconditional Christ consciousness love. That's what's in our heart. That's actually what we truly are. So I would say, yes, evil can affect us. It's there. It's a channel that we can access. We could go into it. We could learn things. We could be an absolute piece of shit if we want to. But it's not in here. It's because we're not connected in here. It's because we're not connected to the love in our hearts that would even want to experience or be evil. It's because lack of self-knowledge. If you
Yeah.
know you are love, there's no need evil. Pfft. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, if we make reference to the heart as being love, and this is what, we've told the world, and we even, depict it in this particular heart type shape, which is much more pleasurable than a throbbing fucking mass of ugliness, in reality. We go, oh, it's nice and pretty and symmetrical. It's not, it's lopsided and it's fucked up. And if we go, well, oh yeah, all of our love is coming from that. Well, that's not proven. Nobody could ever prove that. It's just another one of our idiosyncratic,
Mm.
inventions that we've done. The reason why, I often say evil runs through the heart of many people, because many intellectuals know that. Why? From Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who wrote, about the Gulag Archipelago, his incarceration, for 10 years, and he saw every fucker, there was evil, when pushed to a certain realm. And so whether it's in the heart, whether it's in the mind, it's in the human being. Or it's in consciousness. You can just keep elevating
Mm.
it, and because it's Russian dolls within Russian dolls within Russian dolls. If we are short of God consciousness, then what we are is within God also. And if God, created the cosmos in his own like and image, and well, we're the cosmos as well. So, we can say it's in the head, it's in the heart, it's in the mind, it's in the ego. Well, whatever it is, it fucking is.
It is. Yeah,
It
it's
is
some
what it is, isn't it?
it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we then, as conscious shards, we kind of like we've been thrown in a cesspool of all different sorts of fucking poisonous vipers, and we've got to navigate this. And we ask ourselves, why me? I didn't fucking ask for this shit. Why have I got to navigate a fucking a viper's nest? Has
Mm.
anybody ever answered that one?
I suspect I have my own version of the answer, and believe me, I've sat with this where I'm like, "Are you
Come on
fucking
then.
shitting me? This planet is fucked. What are we doing?" And I have moments where I'm a very happy person, and I have moments of like, "I'm ready to let's get the fuck out of here. This is stupid. Let's go. This is not normal to have this level of poverty, war, murder, rape. This is not normal. I'm done. I have moments of I'm fucking done with this planet." But I'll tell you what, in terms of setting up conditions to allow the soul to evolve and remember the love of God as the self, you couldn't have created a better world.
Yeah.
It
And
is absolutely profoundly fucking perfect
perfect.
to give you an opportunity to say, I am not this fucking evil. I am not this fucking bullshit out there. I choose to remember what I truly am and to go on that soul's journey to remember, holy fucking hell, I am the creator. I am
Yeah.
love. And this is a realm I've created for my learning, and it's perfect.
Yeah. And
What a
that's
fucking glorious shit show it is.
oh,
Absolutely glorious shit show.
it's astoundingly intelligent and genius. And, when we are a part of that, well, if anybody wants to be modest about that, well, that's their prerogative. I don't. I'm never modest about that. I'm like, I'm
I like that
fucking.
about you.
Well, somebody's got to do it. That's what I say. Somebody's got to do it because I'm sick of these fucking shrinking violet fucking mofos that are always susceptible to people saying, "Who do you think you are?" Or your ego. They're all afraid of that. I'm not afraid of nothing. Why would it be? I'm the cosmos. And
Mhm.
and so it's a bit like Jesus. You could string him up, you can do this, you can do that. With the Son of fucking God, it doesn't matter, does it? He's going to feel pain. The body's going to feel pain while he's on the cross. But at the end of the day, when the spirit vacates the body, it's kind of like, oh, it's just like waking up from a dream. In some dreams, you're beat up, you're shot, you're stabbed, and all these different sorts of things, and it all seems very, very real at the time. And you can actually feel the bullet coming in or the knife coming in, and it's kind of like, wow. But then you wake up from that, and I think that's what we do. And so I think it's a very, very genius thing. And it's tiered in so many levels with old souls and new souls. And so it's like veterans keep going into battle. By the time you've been to battle 10 times, you learn a thing or two. And you probably learn that you don't want to go there again. So that's the purpose of it. That's the purpose why soldiers keep going into battle. If they survive, then they'll realize consciously, but there's better ways to fucking live a life. and so I'm going to go and do this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, when we get really, really metaphysical about it, the genius of it blows our tiny fucking mind into a billion fucking shards. And I can very easily see why most people run away to the cave.
Yeah, I can't blame him for it. I can't blame him
Because
for it.
what's the alternative? It's bordering on insanity, just like, many of the genius philosophers. A very, very fine line.
Well, the ego is fucking insane. That's why we have no choice but to wake up out of it and heal aspects of it that need healing, because otherwise we'll go fucking insane. Look at most people. Most people are fucking insane. They eat poison food, they drink poison water, they listen to propaganda, they inject themselves with fucking toxic chemical. It's fucking insane
They get
because
fatter and fatter and
they
fatter
get
and fatter, and
fatter
they
and
don't even
fatter.
realize what the fuck's going on.
It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. They're working jobs that they hate. They don't have deep personal relationships. They don't have a connection with spirituality. They're literally they've created a hell for themselves. And yes, the odds are against them because the matrix has been set up by the dark forces, but they're in hell and they're not even trying to escape. And that's quite a thing if you think about it. When you know there's an escape, and you look at people and say, you realize you're creating all this for yourself, right? You know you're God in a body, and you're in hell, and you can choose not to be in hell if you actually do something about it. They're not interested. They're not
Yeah,
interested. They're not interested.
because they haven't been blessed by the cosmos, and the cosmos being genius, it must have a reason for it. And so
Sometimes a little bit more suffering is required. Sometimes
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of look at the planet right now. We are going into cleansing. It's going to be absolutely brutal. The awakenings people are having now, I mean, it ultimately is a spiritual awakening, but I'm just talking to the 3D reality of what's been happening in the last 4 years, and people actually clicking in like, oh, that's what it was. 2021, that's what it actually what it was, and the consequences of the actions people have taken in their belief systems. Wow, people better find a higher power because
Yeah,
it's
and
brutal. What's coming for people? What's happening now is I really feel for people who fell for all of that and are just coming to terms.
oh
I
yeah.
really feel. I mean,
But
whoa,
one thing that was very, very positive, and kind of like nobody could have said for sure what the outcome of the latest presidential run was going to be. But because overwhelmingly America voted for someone with such a huge ego, they
Trump,
evidently
get out of
yeah,
here.
they
Super
evidently
humble.
knew that whatever Trump was going to do, it's going to be better than these liberal Democrats because they are leading America to hell. And finally, they realized it, and it's kind of like, wow, America is in actual fact starting to wake up. And
Mm.
personally, I think Trump's going to be great for America. He will have the propensity and tendency to lead to a dictatorship because of his very, very powerful beliefs about certain things. And just for instance, he wants to execute drug dealers. At what level? The street corner drug dealer or the cartels? That has to be defined. If he's talking about cartels, I'm in full agreement. If he's talking about street corner drug dealers, I'm most certainly not. Because that's a cultural thing. That's a government thing. That they should be addressing why these people are fucking, on the street corner dealing with drugs. America's got a lot of problems. But anyway, that's all very, very political.
Here's a
All
fun question for you. This is an interesting one. I just know that things are not as they seem, and the self is running everything, and we're all being used, including Trump and Elon Musk. Everyone's being used in the Great Awakening and the evolution of our species. Good guy, bad guy, doesn't matter. Everyone's being used. So here's the question. There's some people who are absolutely convinced that Trump, and some actually think it's Elon Musk, are the Antichrist. And as someone who studied the Bible, there's talk of the Antichrist, and I'm very interested. What's your perspective on this? Do you think that there is actually going to be in a human form one being that is literally an incarnation of the Antichrist, or is the Antichrist more of just this potentiality that all of us have if we ignore God, if we ignore truth, and we choose evil, that we are living that path as an egregore, or do you think there might actually be a physical fucking Antichrist showing up?
no, well, the fact that everything is created from mind and consciousness, and all of these gods all around the world, 4,200, they can't all be the creator of the fucking cosmos. No, everything the Bible speaks about is a metaphor for human consciousness. With every single scenario possible. If you listen to Jordan Peterson, he pretty well dissects a great deal of it. I don't agree with some of it, and some of it what I have actually spoken about, he hasn't broached, and I want him to broach these things, and I'd love to be able to get a letter to him to say, I want you to broach this motherfucker, and I want to know why you're avoiding it. These sort of things. But yeah, the point is, people who are hypnotized into believing that the Bible is the word of God and it's all completely legit, and it's not metaphor, oh, they're delusional. They're absolutely delusional. But I'm always saying, and I say in my book, and I speak a great deal about what Jesus said, and what God's supposed to be, and I've had God, Jehovah, chastise me for 3.5 hours. So I don't discount that it's a thing. It's an egregore. It is, because in the very, very beginning of the creation of the cosmos, this Yahweh character was there, according to the Gnostics. So this Yahweh character, has, spoken to me directly for 3.5 hours under, a high mushroom trip. Then I had Jesus speak with me directly when I wasn't on anything. I just came out of a meditation. Then I've had the very evil forces like the devil offering me, do I want to end my life? And then I've had angels, telling me how I need to evolve. I've had all these fucking crazy things happen in my life, and I know them all to be egregore. I know them all to be spirit, and they're a manifestation of human consciousness and psyche. And the more we pay into them, the more real they become. Because there is nothing real in this dimension, as per what the ancient philosophers, some of them will say, as what the Buddhists will say, and then that is Maya, as what quantum physicists say. Many people will tell you that this is an illusion, right? And so, okay, well, what's going on here? Well, consciousness is going on here, and consciousness is playing with characters. So they're all characters. And when we look at what Trump is, Trump's a manifestation of America's shadow, because America's shadow, the suppression which America's been under for the past 4 years, that they've got to wear this and they've got to take this and they've got to, call, Terry Sheila, even though Sheila's got a beard and a cock. America's gone no. You see, in America, they're not bright enough to really know, most of them, what they're doing, but their shadow is moving. Like a Mexican wave, it's moving the energy away from that and into something else. And so the shadow aspect is all the buried and all the suppressed things that we don't like about ourselves, which are not conducive to society and things like that. Because how many Americans want to go, fuck you with your fucking transgender fucking bollocks, fuck you with your vaccine, fuck you. They're angry. They're fucking angry. And I'm telling you now, it was the grace of the cosmos which put Trump in this position now. Otherwise, America would have imploded without a shadow of a doubt. Trump is going to allow America to release its shadow. And it's not going to be, without a great battle, because there is. Democrats are going to be fighting for their life still, and they're going to be doing everything in their power to eliminate Trump in whatever way. And so, we're just going to have to see. But as far as Trump reckons, he's been picked by the hand of God. Well, when you look at how the left have really hunted him down, and how the 2 assassination attempts and this and that, you got to start thinking that the universe has got a job for Trump to do.
Yeah. And
do you think that?
yes, he's playing a really critical role in the awakening of our species. Absolutely. He is an egomaniac, and yet he's the perfect egomaniac for the job. And no one else with a smaller ego, you couldn't do it. So he's the perfect person to do exactly the job he's doing. And I think it is God's will, and I don't think it can be stopped. I think we're going to see, this is going to be a fascinating time in human
Yeah,
history.
because
Truly, truly, truly.
the
Yeah.
rationale behind his ego isn't schizophrenic. It isn't psychopathic. The rationale
No, he's just got a
is
bit. He's a
sound.
fucking He's a fucking arrogant billionaire with lots of power and charisma, and yet he's not. I know in some way, if you look at the bloodlines and the power and his connections, and people will lump him. Oh, he's one of them. Well, in some way, yes, but and I think in a very, very important way, he's not, because I don't think he does the satanic rituals and the super evil shit. I don't even want to mention, but the
Yeah,
really evil, dark, super fucking evil rituals that they do and all. I don't think he's doing that stuff. I think he actually has values, and he actually is against the child trafficking, all the really evil. I think he actually wants to put an end to that shit and actually genuinely do what's right for his country and for humanity. I actually think he's trying to do that.
yeah,
Doesn't mean he's perfect. Doesn't mean he's not an asshole. Doesn't mean he hasn't ripped people off in business deals. Probably all those things. And yet he's not in their evil club, and they know it,
yeah.
and they don't
And
like him being in power. And that's obvious that they want to stop him.
that's right.
That's
And
real. You can see
yeah,
that you cannot fake the level of hatred that and how much they want to stop this guy. And and we know they're evil. So that tells you everything, doesn't it?
and we know he didn't come out of their farm. He never
Yeah.
came out of their indoctrination procedure. Whereas the Bushes did, they're all in the fucking gang, and Obama did. You can trace all these people back. Apparently, you can trace these bloodlines back to the pharaohs. There's a whole genealogy of all these people, with Obama and the Bushes and everyone. They're all
Mhm.
fucking intertwined with royalty around the world, the same as the British royal family, and all these people that come out of the top universities and colleges on the globe, which end up in politics. They've all been farmed. Most of them have been paedophiled by
Yeah.
the Catholic Church and boarding schools and this, that, and the other. Because once they've been done that to them, it stripped them of any individuated soul or consciousness that they've got. They become a part of the machine. And if you look into the Catholic Church, really with this paedophilia, they have got an absolute 100% ritualistic criteria which they've adhered to for fucking 2,000 years, which destroys the boys that come into that, and they've got procedures. You can listen to Ammon Hillman, and he'll write about these ancient texts and the ancient rituals and everything, where they'll take these young boys in, and then they will have them bummed by somebody that is dressed up as the devil. And the preachers, are standing in front of them watching this while the devil is supposed to be bumming them. But the kids themselves cannot feel any pleasure. Can you imagine? Can you get your head around what's going on here? It's absolutely fucking crazy. But this stuff is going on. But Trump never, he was a self-made man, and so self-made men, they're the ones that terrify the cabal, because they never went through their indoctrination system, like of Kamala. Kamala, she's the descendants of slave owners. And all her families were all into this, and they've all got connections with these people all around the world. And that's one of the beautiful things Candice Owens has discovered. She with the
She's
fucking
amazing. I'm
yeah,
such a fan. Unbelievable. Yeah.
she's a
God
real
bless her.
fucking blessing to the globe, and
Yeah.
she's one of us. She's one of them that's going to be breaking loose from the evil. And
Yeah.
so a billion things to talk about. So
Billion things to talk about. Let's say absolutely wonderful first part, an absolute joy and a pleasure, and we'll get it up. We'll see what the people think, and we'll come at it again. It'll be wonderful. We could go for days, but
yeah, it,
but we have lives,
it,
so we need to go do some stuff.
Yeah, what I normally do is, Alex, if we agree on a time, then that'll work for us. And
Yeah.
anything less than 2 hours, we've always got too much to
Oh no,
say. Anything
no, no.
over 2 hours, it gets a bit exhausting. So if you feel that 2 hours is appropriate, then we can do 2 hours. Or if you've only got 1 hour and you go, "Well, let's just do one subject today, Aaron," and see
I
how that
think
works.
two is nice. I think shooting for two is really nice. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
two's listenable also.
Yeah.
If someone sees 2 hours on a podcast, it's kind of like, okay, I'll do that one tonight. I'm sitting in front of the computer. If it's 3 hours, then they've got to start chipping away at it, and
Yeah.
they might not get back to it. So, yeah, brilliant, Alex. A pleasure to meet you, even though I've known you all my life. Uh, and why we've come together at this particular time, the cosmos only knows, but it feels right, and so we will do it for as long as the cosmos wants us to do it, without any expectations from anybody or anything. And so, it's best not to complicate it with too many thoughts, isn't it? It's kind of like, if you feel like talking about something, are you available? Let's do it. You know, that's the sort of thing. And as far as outcome goes with the video, I don't envision getting any more response or support from this video than I have than any of the others. It's a phenomenon that I don't understand. I simply don't understand it. People, they won't be joyous to see me speaking with somebody else. Somebody else has got an opinion. Somebody else is intelligent. You would think that I would get double the thumbs up and loads of comments and this, that, and the other. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I've been.
It's definitely your ego now.
Well, yeah,
Definitely, the ego sneaks out at the end. People aren't going to appreciate me as much as they should.
Well, a conversation like this. I mean, if people
It's
are
true
on
though.
the
It's a good one.
the
It's a good
things
one.
we're talking about, it's not your everyday stuff, is it? And I don't know, unless you've got a podcast of like, 1 million views, whereby everything is more structured and you've got great thinking people on, and that's what's expected. But like I say, I enjoy it, and so that's why I do it. And the bits I don't enjoy, I'm compelled to do it. So I'm fucked either way, you know.
It's good to be fucked. When you know you're fucked by the cosmos, you're all
Yeah.
right. All right, my friend. Much love to you, and that's it. Let's put it up. Let's see what happens, and we'll go again. So, Mr. Aaron Berry, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and very excited that we met, and very excited to see where our co-creation will lead in the future. And let's do it again soon.
Ditto. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, sir.